Holy shit, is the internet a series of tubes? God damn it. We lost tech in that fucking incident. Hey there, the name's Adam, and god damn it. Yeah. Holy shit.
And I'm Imsit, and we're here to ask the question, what is internet anyway?
Why is internet? How is internet?
Because we are talking about Mage the Ascension's first source book for the digital web.
Which, yeah, this is actually a book they released twice, and you can get both of them on the RPG drive-through, which is in the description. Uh, the second one also does not have bookmarks. Neither of them, I think, have bookmarks, but that's fine. The technocracy trying to block dice scum. No, no, no. Tech is part of the technocracy. It's actually the fucking traditions that did it, man. They don't. They're trying to fucking. They're trying to fucking ignore the paradigm shift that's going on, man. Yeah, like they're just absolutely ruining the net. Tried to blow up our heads like in fucking scanners. It was terrible, man. Speaking of terror, actually no, this is some pretty weird art. I'm gonna show it off because holy shit.
This is Riffs.
Yeah,
It just feels like
this
it
has
comes from
Rift's
Riffs.
energy.
You've got the weird alien, robot, regular human, sexy alien superhero thing, um, some guy riding on top of a rabbit. But this is supposed to be the internet.
So I actually think because these are both influenced by different eras of pop culture, respectively. There is a particular movie, I forget if it was made around this time, called Johnny Mnemonic, where
Look it
they
up.
actually have an entire segment on the internet in it, and this kind of reminds me of this.
95, actually.
So that might be what inspired 2.0. 1.0 is probably more Tron.
Because the big thing about this was made literally 30 years ago, in 1994. This is the internet before I'd say its initial massive explosion
No, no,
into.
no. This is during the expansion by AOL. Originally, the internet was very much a private man's gig. It was very limited on basically what you could access. I believe AOL was starting to completely break it apart because they were massively selling up their CDs. Funnily enough, this is actually one of the very first cases of normies get out because a lot of the veterans of this era of the internet legitimately hated the new people that showed up. This is the era of basically UI was kind of if we can get around to it. This is the era of BBS and fucking Usenet, man.
This is actually right before BBS will start to die off.
Yep. Also, funnily enough, the robot handing what looks to be a dude in a trench coat his I don't know, Chardonnay, that kind of feels like something you'd either see out of a Doctor Who spinoff, or actually, it feels like a rejected Ralph McQuarrie design for like one of the Clone Wars droids, like an alternative B series droid that was turned into a butler.
Actually, it does look like a droid from Star Wars.
It kind of looks like it's parallel related to a B series droid. Like not
Not more like a servant class droid, like a I forget if that was level 4 or level 5 droids, but those like C3PO, the HKs, that sort of thing.
Yeah, I could see it. Also, legitimately, the main lady in here really does just remind me of a Flame Atronach, even though Flame Atronachs only looked like a lady. I think starting in Morrowind.
Morrowind, and I believe that's because of choice. They
Yeah.
just want to.
So,
Much like in the internet, at
h-
least if you're a mage.
how far will you go for the truth? How far are you going to alter the truth on the internet by putting lies on it?
You can
Yeah.
put lies on the internet.
Oh man. So yeah, this is really early on. This is like 1994. This is again, like I said, this is the era of this is when Usenet was still a thing. Forum boards were I don't even think I think they existed, but they were so rare because it took actual effort to build them. Websites very much were in the you could just kind of slap whatever nonsense you wanted to put on it. A lot of people actually were slapping together websites. I don't think the best page in the universe was actually made at this point. I don't think it was.
I don't. Yeah, no. Again, like I would say the major explosion of the internet happens in the late 90s.
Well, no,
This is when,
I'm just pointing out because this is like this era of the internet. This is like near the time of stuff like Portal of Evil. This is right when something awful is just starting to be thought of. Like
that,
that's how early this is.
but that's like 96. I think 97 is when you get a lot of people.
Oh no, you don't understand. A lot of people are already starting to surge on here. That's why White Wolf is bringing up this stuff. But yeah, this is literally a year after what it was called by the original Normies Get Out crowd, the Eternal September.
I think best way to describe it. Imagine explaining Bitcoin to somebody in like 2017.
No, they know what a Bitcoin is. It's just
Well,
like
you're trying to explain in detail what it is.
I would say this is like a Bitcoin. If you tried to explain what Bitcoin was in like 2014,
Oh,
it's older than you think. Bitcoin's pretty old. So the table of contents include a prelude, the introduction, a variety of chapters which talk about the web itself, and actually this one has a couple of adventure hooks. I was going through the internet as I was staring and realizing that this was another one of those weird fan sites for some terrible 80s TV show that only the developmentally disabled seem to like. When I ran into trouble. I just walked into the pit of hell. I mean, yeah, that's basically the internet in a nutshell. Yeah, legitimately, hell itself being described as the internet or just an NASA server database sounds about right. IBM Systems. Yeah, this is the era where IBM was only start. I think IBM only recently collapsed as the computer provider because originally you really only had IBM. And then what happened was a guy by the name of Bill Gates basically made a functional operating system, and essentially it could run on basically as much as it wanted. And IBM's value basically went down the toilet since they focused heavily on office machines and servers. I mean, you can also argue to a lesser degree that there was this thing called Apple that did a lot of did a lot of damage, but in reality, what Apple did was it popularized a lot of stuff that you take for granted nowadays. It wasn't the first to really do something like, say, a user interface, but it was the first to popularize it. Yeah, just not having to type shit in is relatively recent in this time period. I'm kind of doubling in for tech because this is kind of his wheelhouse. There has to be some education in here, god damn it.
try my best.
There will be an attempt. So I think we're just gonna skip the little intro story we always do
Yeah,
usually. Also, it's kind of hard to read because of the
it, it is.
choice of background.
Although there's something here that really tells me about the writing of this time period. Uh, this is 94. Wraith did not come out yet, if I remember correctly, because
Wraith did not come out yet, and I think this is around the time that they're planning on killing. I forget if this is before or after they've plotted to kill off Sam Haight, because this I think is near the time of Chaos Factor.
because I'm already seeing a line here. This was straight out of some sort of sci-fi Auschwitz, man. Yeah, this is early White Wolf.
Oh yeah, this is the White Wolf that believes that because of where you're located physically and based on basic physical details about you, you go to a different hell.
Though I do love the what would you call this band?
Uh,
It does look like a rejected Star Wars band, and actually, if you look on the right, it has the symbol of the separatists.
It does. I
This
would argue that this would I'm actually saying, don't no, we don't need to see Devo, son. We have Devo at home, and this is Devo at home.
well, to give us another sort of reference, we don't need the modal nodes at home. We have them at home.
Yeah, it's pretty. This reminds me of Weird Al's Dare to Be Stupid costume. Actually, yeah, this does remind me of Dare to Be Stupid. Holy shit. That's probably what they based it on, actually, now that I think about it. Might also be, if Cyberpunk was a thing around this time, they might also just be slightly ripping off Podsmith a bit. Just a little bit.
I I think cyberpunk. There was that general in the '80s. You had that whole techno vibe with a
Well,
lot of
yeah, I mean,
sci-fi.
you got Neuromancer around that period, and you got Neuromancer, you had a bunch of other, like, lesser series. Seriously, there's a lot of cheap, crappy sci-fi, which are just budget action movies where they had a couple of weird props. Like,
So,
it was just a crappy action movie, but it's technically sci-fi because they added a couple of dumb props to it.
so the word made flesh. There is a hole in static reality. It's about 2 microns wide and about 3 astronomical units long. It's as fragile as spun glass and strong as light. It branches out in all directions, encircles the globe, and goes nowhere. It's a digital realm of dazzling wonders and sudden, terrifying termination. Just like the real world, only more so. Which that might actually fit the internet to a T.
Yes and no, because they're going into so the concept of a virtual reality that basically mimics our reality. This is something that I forget the book, but there's a specific book that that essentially set the stage for this type of belief that eventually we'll be able to create essentially a hyper reality virtually.
I feel like that might have been even in like the 20s.
Slightly, but there's a book specifically that I think was written in the 80s around the same period of Neuromancer that did this.
They
Uh,
do have a like a sort of a reference guide or
but
the
there's one specific book that,
influences.
if I recall, it had like a death virus as a part of its plot. Like, it had a digital virus that killed you in real life as one of its main plot elements.
Well,
I don't
Chad,
remember
if
the
you
name
can
of it.
figure it out, please message us.
Like I said, this is very popular, and this is actually, legitimately, this belief is what ultimately led to the gigantic fucking scams known as, well, things like Earth 2 or Metaverse. Basically, the concept that you can just kind of do the same garbage that you do in real life, but in virtual reality, and have to pay a digital currency to do anything, and it looks like dog shit, and it makes your computer explode. They all based it on this kind of belief that this hyper reality could be achieved. The difference is this is the era of Mage, like this is Mage and the Paradigm War. So yeah, you can actually make this work.
If you think about it, what about paradox? You're you're not in a reality.
You can kind of
So
see why this is very tempting, because if you're not in reality, and in fact, actually, especially since you're coding your own virtual reality, and by coding I mean you're basically breaking the laws of physics to do this. Uh, by making your virtual reality kind of do whatever the fuck you want, you're not really bound as much by, collective disbelief of humanity. It's almost like making a budget version of a demiplane.
yeah. So within the contents, they will say what the introduction is, focusing a lot on the virtual adepts. Then
Yeah, this is actually the book that
you know,
really defines them.
mechanics of the web, how you can actually tie this into vampire and werewolf.
Yeah, because I don't think this is the book that introduced Shrekneck, but I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if it is.
And then a bunch of locations and stories to
They
use.
they do give you a couple of stories. We usually don't cover those.
So, what is the web?
What is the? It's a series of tubes. I heard this. It's a series of tubes, and it's an Internet of Things.
Well, it is that. It could also be a conceptual universe created from the will of mages. It could also be a conceptual, something linked to the conceptual spirit entity known as the Weaver. Or who knows what it is.
In reality, what happened was there was this actual big project called ARPANET, which was actually an experimental series of relay systems for servers to communicate with each other on. I believe it started with college campuses, and then from there it kind of went out of control because it essentially slowly proliferated. Originally, it was a lot harder to access, but ultimately, what happened was you realized you could connect to this bad boy by using phone lines using a thing called a modem. And from there, a bunch of casuals showed up and decided to show off their horrible obsession with terrible TV shows, their disgusting fetishes, and their beliefs that, I don't know, and their beliefs that the moon's fake.
Oh,
And
so nothing's
it went
changed.
downhill from there.
Well, I mean, I thought it started with military applications.
DARPA did experiment with it, but it's essentially, I believe what happened was they were originally doing it for that, but then a variety of I believe like MIT and a bunch of the other larger universities that had very noted computer sciences and computer engineering uh, programs created their own servers, and that's what led to ARPANET. Basically,
Well,
ARPANET was the predecessor of the real internet. Also, funnily enough, there was a very abortive effort by the Soviet Union to make their own system called SovNet. That never kicked off the ground because their electronics industry was a lot shittier than ours. Also, their
so,
version would have been kind of a nightmare because it would have been a centralized sort of system.
so here's what it is in the world of Mage. It was initially starting off as a part of a realm created by the Ali Imbatin. It's the realm was called Mount Huath. It's not a horizon realm, but sort of a borderland between Umbra, Spirit, and Idea. The technocracy decided they wanted it, and then I believe they destroyed it, and the organization that would become the Virtual Adept started tinkering with that idea, eventually then becoming the internet.
No offense, but that's actually really dumb.
Well, this is early White Wolf.
Yeah, but it's still really dumb. Not quite Berlin by Night, where a single vampire is single-handedly responsible for the deaths of 100 million people. But it's pretty dumb. Actually, I forget. What was it? World War II, I think, had 50 million dead, and then World War One had 20 million.
60 to 70 million.
Yeah, so about 100 million, my original guess was. Okay.
Also, don't forget, was he responsible for the Hundred Years' War?
No, he was responsible though. Thank you for reminding me. He was responsible for the Franco-Prussian War. Thank you for reminding me of that. He was probably responsible for the many genocides that happened in Namibia as well because of the German colonial ambitions.
For some reason, even though it had nothing to do with Berlin.
Well, you see, he's the Prince of Berlin, and vampires have inordinate influence over the entire fucking country if it takes place in the capital, I guess. And don't get me wrong, a vampire with a high dominate or, presence or any form of charisma can do a lot of things, but I don't know, there's a certain point where it kind of gets ridiculous. Which
But
White Wolf experienced when they tried to explain that the horrible things that happened in Chechnya were vampires' fault. Oh, also, the time they tried to explain that a very violent policing organization in Brazil are effective vampire hunters.
well, no, it's more. I think that was more saying that Balpe was possibly doing the bidding of the vampires.
I don't know. All I know is that White Wolf hasn't learned. It's funny. This Paradox is trying to sanitize it, but they keep fucking it up because like they kind of can't stop fucking themselves over.
Also, don't forget they gave us a red talon that actually spreads AIDS.
Yeah, that's lovely. Also, red talons can now be humans because that's something they would love. That was originally a kill on sight order actually, but fuck that.
But back to Mage. So
So
it actually is.
basically, the internet was a tube of things that was made by a bunch of secretive Arabic mages that were killed by the wizards during the imperialist conquest, and now it's this.
Actually, I do like this line from this is Alexis Hastings from the Sons of the Ether, who actually brings up the fact that uh, even though she's a woman, does she call herself the son of Ether?
Oh, don't worry, don't worry. That's not gonna matter because eventually, if I recall correctly, they invented an entire branch of I forget what they did, but there was like a massive refit of the Sons of Aether that dealt with that.
They just renamed themselves the Society of Ether.
I think it was that, and also they were like very aggressive about recruiting women, if I recall,
Yes, but
including
I
several of them spontaneously gender shifting due to a magical incident and or desire to become a woman.
I mean that is Mage.
I vaguely remember this was a thing that they did during the re-update, and it was very ham-handed.
But I do like that actually one of the things I do like about Mage is the fact that the organizations of the traditions and the technocracy are made at very specific times in history. Like I do like that the Dream Speakers were actually I don't know if they retconned or if they just started out because because the traditions were primarily European centric, they just lumped everything not European into the Dream Speakers.
Yeah, that's again, that's mostly just White Wolf going, yeah, you're not of European heritage. That means you go over there now.
But it actually inspired. They actually bring up that implication and the issue of it in the lore.
I like how the traditions are actually dealing with the web sectors, which does make sense. I mean, on the web at this point, there was actually a big resurgence on the web for a variety of New Age religious movements. In particular, Wiccans and Satanists actually very much use the web at this point to just
Hmm.
do their own weird shit. Like you can find a lot of old Wiccan organizations and also a lot of weird political movements. Like
Uh,
you can still find a variety of old anarchist movements that still have like their old Geocities level tier shit on there.
well, as they do say, the mood of the net reflects the frontier spirit. It is a land of untapped wealth and boundless resources. It's a restless, sprawling Wild West town.
Yeah. Hey, remember this is before the era of corporatization and you have to consume product. This is when it was truly the Wild West.
So
No, no,
they,
seriously, this is back when any bumbo, as long as you had basic computer science and coding knowledge, could actually make their own website.
so as they say, the players. So you primarily have the virtual adepts and the technocracy. Technically, they mainly focus on Iteration X, the cyborg and machine guys. Although they also bring up that the Sons of the Ether enjoy the net space because it's very bizarre.
Yeah. Also, Marauders and Nefandi try to shut it up, but they're kind of kept on the outskirts.
But
Osmonds,
the
you're all Osmonds throwing up on the freeway at dawn.
the virtual adepts, the net space Q&A. The first question: why don't we just take over the net?
Yeah.
Think about it, fanboy. When was the last time you had a secret that you kept to yourself? Do you have anything at all that you have never told anybody? You're thinking, yeah, I do have secrets. That's what you think, kiddo. Somebody somewhere knows all about you. You think they're going to keep quiet? Hell no. My point here is that information is alive. It has a will of its own. No matter what you do to contain it, it's going to get out someday. The idiots from the technocracy don't know jack when it comes to this.
I kind of like
But
that they low-key realized that this is something that White Wolf kind of low-key realized early on. If you post something stupid on the internet, even at this point, it was pretty hard to permanently scrub it. Once a piece of info is on there, it's like, yeah, hypothetically you can scrub it, but
So the question then becomes, if the net is information, can you or and also should you control information?
that is literally an argument that is still that's something funny. It actually still has relevance to this day because of the whole net neutrality argument.
Hmm. And for the virtual adepts, well, this could also be a tool for ascension because
Yeah,
the more
legitimately.
people get online, the more it can shape that world and then possibly the real world.
Well,
Because if you think about it, if you can do incredible things on the internet, to be quite honest, start social movements that radically transform society, fundamentally reshape our understanding of the nature of politics. That's happened multiple times.
oh yeah, one of the most well-known examples is actually the Coney 2012 scenario.
I was thinking actually just more the Arab Spring, but that was around the same time.
Yeah. Hey there, Squirrel Killer. Welcome to the Internet of Things. It is a giant tube. Also, funnily enough, this book, despite being written in the mid '90s, actually is still relatively accurate today, even if the technology hasn't quite caught up. Like they talk about how hard it is to suppress information on the net. They talk about whether or not you should even control it, whether or not whether or not you can actually control it. It's actually kind of interesting that they're going this route.
So this guy's description of Iteration X and what they do uh, is that let's see, the technocracy has another dose of your daily video narcotic ready for you on a platter. They just change it slightly so that it seems different. Iteration X, they're dealers, man, and they're all on crack. So Iteration X is basically providing the entertainment that they want people to have.
That's actually rather surprising. That's mainly because during this period in time, the fastest you're probably going to be working with, unless you have a specific. There's like a few areas that have legitimately decently fastish internet because of the infrastructure, but most of the time you're dealing with like 56, kilobit per second modems, and that's a decent model. Like you actually have as low as 35. You're dealing with like shitty 144p, if that level, shitty videos that are like 2 minutes long at most. And even then, it takes like a couple hours to fucking download.
Actually, I think they're referencing Polybus here because they refer to the arcade junkie stare and that like saying like kids have nothing better to do than wipe out icons in a vid arcade. I swear, sometimes they use the damn things as training tools for the masses.
Yeah, it's a nod to Polybius. It is a nod to it, which I
And
think
I would also point this out. When did Doom come out?
Doom came out. Doom came out on the computers a while ago.
Doom then. Be a fun thing of like Doom. The virtual adepts just think it's entirely normal and blase or technocratic tool.
Also, internet suppresses a current goal of all our current governments. They also talk about how this was during the period of it being a Wild West. Yeah, that's dead now. It's all corporate now.
The syndicate are the people that fund the equipment uh, to access the net. Oh, I like this. This is an interesting reference given the name. The Bush Boys, the New World Order.
Goofy failure of a president. I actually vaguely remember that he was actually not a terrible president. It's just the economy went through a shithole period during, and that's what
You
knocked him out.
know why he wasn't reelected? He leaked the plans for takeover, and we sort of helped him along.
Okay,
Oh, love about this. It's doubly amazing how many speechwriters use computers and don't check their final outputs,
okay.
given the rise of AI.
I mean, given the rise of AI, it's just kind of like this is another case of, yeah, if you're kind of directly referencing the influence of like a direct moment, This is kind of when White Wolf is at its weakest for me because it's like, oh come on,
I mean, they are writing this to be during this time period.
I don't care.
Like, they're trying to seem hip and relevant.
How you do, fellow kids? And finally, the Sons of Ether.
Well, this is fun. So that they basically, because the Sons of Ether are kind of insane, uh, they have done things like help invent the trinary computer and created realities such as one that was defined entirely by the physics of Saturday morning cartoons.
So, if you're wondering why trinary is rather pointless, this is actually just again I'm kind of filling in text role. He was destroyed in the Great Internet Wars with the traditions. Um, so trinary is kind of pointless because besides binary, computers actually use a variety of other counting systems. It's not just solely binary. Binary is usually used for on and off scenarios. Other ones that are very popular and commonly used are octal, hexadecimal, and 32 and 64-bit. So, not really. Trinary is relatively pointless. The best way to describe a trinary computer is it's essentially kind of like a more worthless Temple OS. Because at least Temple OS was like ambitious in the scope of one person. This is like a group project of shit.
But I believe that the concept they're going with trinary is that instead of just being yes and no, there's a maybe. And
Yeah,
that's the whole thing of,
yeah,
reality can be whatever you want.
yeah. That's the point of having things like octal, hexadecimal, and so on, because it allows you for more conditional points. Like, there's no point in using something that limited. Then again, these are people that are kind of familiar because again, this is during the era of where AOL was just spamming the living shit out of their CDs. So this is when the internet was expanding. This is a year after the Eternal September. But like, so they're a little familiar with this sort of stuff, but they're not like experts, and honestly, I'm not either. I'm just trying to do my best here.
Uh, uh,
Also Pentex and the Syndicate.
yeah, Pentex is involving the internet, uh,
Not surprising.
mostly to protect their stuff because technically the net borders the Umbra.
Well, yeah, trinary is probably a thing in computer science, but it's so to give you an idea, it's like there's this one type of kitchen gadget that exists where it's like you could use that or you could just use like a fucking fork or like I
Yeah,
don't know, a whisk.
I actually, looking at Wikipedia for this. Apparently, it isn't really used. Maybe balanced uh, ternary, but the world's first unbalanced ternary semiconductor was, I believe, developed maybe in 2017.
Yeah, again, it's more of a academic thing. It's any purpose that it could have is essentially covered by a series of binary switches. Legitimately, you can kind of use the same system for binary switches. It's less efficient, but honestly, it does the same job. Uh, any other counting-based system would also work. It just like there's no real point, mechanically speaking.
So
But
the
yeah,
ex
Pentex is
yeah.
huge. They have a large component, and the net since the internet since lore-wise, the internet was founded by a bunch of Arabic wizards that the technocracy killed and hijacked and then turned into the internet. It is actually kind of a demi-plane out in the cosmology. It is actually its own sub-reality rather than actually just being a genuine infrastructure. That is the devices and machinery is legitimately the Magic Man stuff to allow you to activate the parallel universe that it essentially is. And because of that, you can tap into the Emperor using the net.
Which means yes, you can encounter glasswalkers.
Yeah, you can have werewolves pop into the internet, and I mean literally pop into it.
So they go into more detail on what the different organizations of or the conventions do. Iteration X wants to use the internet to provide means of ascension. By that meaning, to have the masses realize everything is predictable and predestined. Everything will function at 100% efficiency.
They essentially want to turn the internet into a gigantic Skinner's box. Skinner box, for those who aren't familiar with operant conditioning, is it is a box where you strap a pigeon into it and you slowly train it to do basic tasks using a series of rewards and not necessarily punishment, although you can include a punishment. Essentially, it's you train a pigeon to tap a button in order to get a treat. That's what Iteration X wants to turn that, but for people. And instead of food, it's digital cocaine.
So it is behind social media.
Oh yeah, Iteration X is almost certainly responsible for the trash fire that is Meta.
I'm just mad. This technically does make why am I blanking on the guy who invented Facebook?
Zuckerberg, well, technically Zuckerberg is only one of the people because there's a couple others. He actually got sued for some of the bullshit he did to them.
Uh, uh, so what were you saying? He's a progenitor clone or an actual like cyborg?
I think he's the first example of a person with zero essence or humanity or any assets whatsoever.
Huh?
I don't know what that would be, but in the world of darkness, but basically, like a person who is living without a soul. Like it's not like a Nefandis, which has an inverted soul. Like there's no avatar. There's nothing there. There's nothing.
I'm surprised they have actually put that in the game. That does sound like something that would be explored. But speaking of,
The ultimate goal is Iteration X wants you to put the computers in the brain. So Elon
yeah.
Musk wanting to put chips in the brain. He's part of Iteration X, so you know what you
No,
gotta do.
Francis E. Deck,
He
the
warned us of
communist,
this.
the communist brainwave, eyesight television. But speaking of a new world order, the new world order, they actually were opposed to the internet, but now, and it kind of restricts parts of the web, but they now use it to compile records on every individual.
Also, the New World Order is responsible for Doom wads.
Yes, to kill imagination, despite, well, my house.wad certainly is very imaginative.
Well, you see, this is during the time period where a bunch of busybody pieces of shit in Congress tried to restrict video game as an art form, mainly because they got very upset at the concept of a child accidentally seeing a video game pixel character rip the spine out of another video game pixel character.
And so Tipper Gore is a part of the new world order.
Yeah. Also, there's this one loser. I believe he's from Vermont. He's not Bernie Sanders. He's another piece of shit. What's his name?
He's
He's a
still in
notorious
con-
flip flopper. Lieberman, Joe Lieberman.
he's dead now.
Thank God.
So the progenitors, they want to use it to catalog the Human Genome Project.
Which was also a very big thing during this time period. Also, this is a year after Jurassic Park, which actually mentioned it in the book.
Uh,
The human
outside of
genome,
that,
if you were
yeah,
wondering, it was only fully mapped, I believe, in '97. So this was a big, big undertaking. This is also only a couple of years after, I believe, not a couple of years, but I think this is less than 5 years after Dolly, the first sheep, the first clone.
yeah. Uh, however, they really don't use it that much because life magic doesn't really work on the net.
Well, yeah, it's not really living, so to speak. It's
However, because of that, they can also fuck with people uh, through their avatar, sparking online heart attacks or nervous breakdowns to their enemies.
This is just based on some of the dumb shit you could see in like the movies at the time. Although, admittedly, like I said, Johnny Mnemonic is about a year out from this. This is like some of the stuff you could see from there. Hey, there's the syndicate.
And it's money. It's
Yeah,
just money.
yeah. These are the idiots responsible for NFTs becoming so popular for about a year.
I mean, They would be responsible for the dot-com bubble.
Yeah,
Yet maintaining the sanctity of commercial online services against predators inside and outside the web. But I would like it. Then you have a bunch of syndicate people going in there trying to stop malicious computer viruses from actually harming the internet.
you could have that. I'm also envisioning like like a syndicate guy whose whole thing is he's like making, because a lot of the .com companies are just pointless. Like here's a website that you could get to, that you could use to schedule your dog's heart medicine.
Or an idea of like The Sopranos when they're doing the stock scam. They show up on the internet and beat somebody up. You're supposed to push Wabistics.
Just like some other dumb. There was a lot of terrible fucking ideas of major websites that got a lot of funding because the potential of the internet was not fully realized or understood at this point. Still isn't really.
So finally, then the Void Engineers. So they're the ones that handle what the Virtual Adepts would have done in the Technocracy. So the Virtual Adepts see them as actually the greatest threat, and it's because either the two will develop the new, I guess, new formats of what the internet could be.
These are your back end and front end guys. These are the type of people that basically go into the guts of the website's code to actually make a front end that any bumbo can use. These are the poor bastards that had to figure out how to make how a web form works.
But there's also the issue of they may reach into some place that they shouldn't.
Well, yeah, because again, the internet isn't actually like this isn't the product of mages accidentally creating a sub universe or a demi-plane of sorts. This was a demi-plane that they hijacked and turned into the internet with
What
a
if
little bit of help
perhaps,
from the Weaver.
yeah, what if perhaps uh it ends up linking to hell?
Which it might.
And
Hypothetically, that's a possibility.
congratulations, a bunch of demons are out on the internet.
Yeah. I mean, it already links to the Umbra, so it accidentally linking into hell or legitimately into uh, let's say a like the horrible unreality of of like the Black Spiral caverns or whatever, or just like super hell. That's fine. So
Now,
there's a bunch of terms that are used in
yeah,
cyberspace.
uh, and definitely a lot of this is coming from the pop culture, like derez, to lose iconic integrity and vanish from the web. And that's the other thing. They don't call what we would probably call avatars, because, well, they have avatars. Instead, the mutable virtual form is called an icon.
Also, if you're wondering, yes, you can surf cyberspace because data writer is an actual term for someone online.
Grid sectors, monochrome areas of iconographic figures or mages can talk to sleepers who are using BBS.
What was that? Sorry, I wasn't paying
Oh,
attention.
the grid sector is basically BBS.
Yeah,
Jack in and out, plugging into or out of the web.
which is actually really funny because this is before the Matrix. I think this is actually after when was the first Cyberpunk book made? Like when did Mike Pondsmith make his first Cyberpunk book?
Let me see.
I'm actually really curious because
88.
so they probably stole a little bit from that.
That's 2013. 1990 is Cyberpunk 2020. So yes, this would have been around.
I think they might have stolen a little bit from that and Shadowrun because Shadowrun's also pretty old. And again, things like Neuromancer. I think Johnny Mnemonic was also based on a book, so I'm not surprised.
So, explaining, I guess next, what is the digital web? As we said, it is a place that's like a realm that's like near the Umbra.
So yeah, to mages, like to us, it's just like some cool the ability to talk to people online. To mages, it's literally just the hypothesized It's just literally the hypothesized stuff that you would see in sci-fi movies of the time period.
It is that concept of like you can create your own, like creating your own web page or home page or whatever. It basically is that, but you get to make your own.
The micro universe.
Yeah, actually, no, what would be best? Star Trek, the
Oh yeah,
holodeck.
it's like the holodeck, but if you're on meth.
It is a holodeck where you don't even need to ask the computer what to make.
Yeah, so the digital web, according to White Wolf, is it's a shared dream, an electronic town commons, a collective fantasy, a limitless play environment. They're basically describing what Second Life was supposed to be, which is funny because you know how this always turns into.
And so the
This
history of
actually really perfectly mimics the absolute bullshit that you hear from tech startups in Silicon Valley. It's actually really funny.
so the beginning of this again, basically the Order of Reason, which is what the technology would be, found that there was a massive web of quintessence around a nexus in the Middle East. They went to find it, eliminated the Guardians, and then tasked the difference engineers to rediscover the realm. Difference engineers being the what the virtual adepts would be. Then Alexander Graham Bell created the telephone.
Yeah, the cosmology of the internet existing and the methods that they're describing, I kind of think is really fucking dumb.
And also, so that proved that you could connect and communicate over a long period.
Hmm.
Now, with the help of Charles Babbage, who was a son of the ether,
Of
uh,
course he is.
yeah, steam-driven contraptions. So now
Yes,
you
I'm
have
aware
these.
of the differential engine. You know what I'm also aware of, White Wolf? The differential engine is nothing more than a very large and elaborate mechanical calculator.
You see calculator, communication. So you have now this theory of correspondence.
Like, no, 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 you don't understand. Like, you could do the same thing with like Napier's bones or any basic form of multiplication rods. I'm not kidding when I say this thing is like, it's not that impressive.
Then Turing comes about, and he builds the electronic computer, and then realizes, wait a minute,
Well, that's a fucking insult because of all the Polish people that actually did a lot of effort from the Lviv school that actually did a lot of stuff on electromechanical research.
uh,
And don't even get me started on Konrad Zuse and his Z machines, which actually were originally designed to calculate for weather. Also, similar efforts besides Turing occurred in the U.S. International
yes.
business machines, for example, came about at this time originally.
Well, no, it also came from Thomas Jefferson, an obscure hemp grower. You see, apparently, the virtual adepts had realized what the technology is going to do with this and was going to shut down the free flow of information. So I guess because of the influence of the Americans, they ended up leaking the technocracy's agenda through popular books, such as 1984, which was the year the technocracy expected to control half the world, and Brave New World, which was apparently supposed to be a reference to the New World Order.
That's an insult to the writers who made that.
It is. Uh,
I actually am starting to hate this book a little more, not as much as Berlin by Night, but it's getting really insulting.
Virtual adepts are disgusted because the technocracy was working with both the Allies and the Axis in World War II. Adepts focus more on the Allies. Uh, and then Turing's cabal formulates concept of machine intelligence,
Oh, go
and
fuck yourself. Turing
and then
didn't
VR.
figure out cryptography. That was Marian Rajewski and fucking Stefan Banach. The cryptological bomb. Go fuck yourself. I'm not kidding. A bunch of Poles did like literally two or three Poles did what Alan Turing what they're claiming Turing did. That actually got under my skin.
Well, of course, the Poles could figure out what gibberish is. That's
Uh,
their language.
I'm not even kidding. They were
But
able to crack the Enigma code. Also, the U.S. weren't too shabby at it either. They were able to completely wipe out the Japanese Murasaki code.
and produce our own code based on a
Now,
language that none of the Japanese would know.
now to be fair, Turing was very effective as a coder, and he actually was critical in making sure Enigma stayed cracked, because the Germans did realize rather quickly that someone figured it out. Mainly because they kind of figured, wait, why are our submarines getting sunk so quickly? Huh.
Hmm.
I think someone might. Also, funnily enough, the Italians were surprisingly good at intelligence during this time period. So you have the Italians going, "I think someone broke your code because of X, Y, and Z. We have information on that." And the Germans are like, "Maybe, but maybe something else happened." The German intelligence agency, the Abwehr, was actually pretty bad at its job. It didn't help that the head of the Abwehr actually really fucking hated Hitler by that point.
Oh, so a
Uh,
good thing.
so what happened was he was okay with German rearmament. What really got him to start hating Hitler, though, was the Czech crisis, because he essentially saw that Hitler was going to drive them to ruin. He's not a good person, but he basically is like, yeah, Germany's going to go down the toilet if I don't try to sabotage Hitler.
Interesting.
Yeah. Wilhelm Canaris. He was a former naval officer.
Uh, did he live past the war?
No,
Killed during it or executed?
I don't remember his fate, but he was a high-ranking Nazi official technically. So, yeah.
So he
Even if he wasn't killed, he was gonna go be locked away. I'd have to look it up.
so Turing, was developing this computer system, and
And then all of a
the
sudden, the technocracy outed that he was gay, so so the UK had to inject his brain with chemical castration chemicals.
well, that's what the sleepers think. You see, it could have been because he had designed a program to simulate reality. Computer memory was not enormous, but large enough to allow a person to walk around in it. He projected his avatar into it, and then he unfortunately could not get back to his unconscious body in time to, I guess, leave the computer. So it's possible that he is stuck in the internet and may have also created it.
I kind of hate this the more we read.
It is Turing will, for as long as the net exists, they believe, Turing will remain locked at the core, unable to escape and being slowly consumed alive by a machine. Many adepts who have explored the outer fringes of the net claim to have found digitized pieces of Turing's screams as he was incorporated into the kernel. It's quite possible that he's still screaming.
I mean, that's some beautiful horror. I like that.
With also the assumption that maybe the technocracy had a hand in either the suicide or causing a raid.
Oh yeah, so
Uh,
Alan Turing was given the credit of the Lwów school, the Lviv school. So
oh,
they
hey,
gave all of the credit of the Polish team that actually cracked Enigma to him, and then they had him invent the internet, which is based on a series of digital magical. It was like a magical locust micro universe that was owned by like an Arabian wizard order that they killed all off, and Turing was able to hack it and turn it into the internet, and then he got turned into a bunch of screaming parts.
I mean, I guess a way they could maybe recon it is say the Cabal included those Polish guys and make it like they were the
There's not
leaders of the
there's not
virtual adept.
retconning. Why not Al Gore? Well, because I don't know. Uh,
Well, you see, Al Gore invented the internet. Turing invented the net. Moving on.
I mean, they did some. They were talking about some really dumb stuff about World War II era, but not as dumb as it all started by one vampire. That's way worse. So,
So,
anyways,
like,
after Turing's alleged death, yeah,
the virtual adepts fuck off, join the technocracy or join the traditions,
here's Dr.
and
Solaris's theory of the web.
saying metaphysically and theoretically, the structure of the universe is one of ideas, concepts, thoughts, archetypes, and emotions, a cosmic unconscious, if you will. Uh, and you know, For example, the metaphysical block containing emotion connects to smaller blocks containing anger, love, hatred, etc. Love connects all different types of love and down to specific degrees of love felt by the individual. Structure is mutable. It exists in its current form only as a result of technocracy's efforts. The computer revolution has organized and provided access to ideas to an amazing degree. While admittedly a worldwide thought projector might do a better job of making ideas available, the rapid transfer of ideas through open channels is more efficient and less prone to paradox. As technology is made more accessible, the consensual universe is strengthened. If all sleepers learn that panda bears were always black and white, then reality changes to reinforce that belief. The technomancer paradigm is strengthened. This does not mean that all panda bears change color, rather, no purple pandas are found and no yellow striped ones are born. On the other hand, if all sleepers learn that panda bears come in an unpredictable variety of colors and mutate over generations, then reality changes to reinforce that belief. The technomancer paradigm is weakened, although the structure of the universe is still strengthened. Thought empowers reality. Computers have tremendous potential for transmitting and organizing data, hence thought. Each computer, because it allows access to these thoughtites, become the center of 100 of new web fibers.
So this actually low key explains why misinformation can actually be really damaging. Basically, this guy low key explained the rapid proliferation of very stupid conspiracy theories and the mentally challenged idea of, oh yeah, got cancer, just use essential oils to fix that shit. Oh no, I have stage 4 and I'm gonna drop dead soon. Here, doctor, try to undo my own self-inflicted mistake. What do you mean it's terminal?
But here's the thing, though. Would the traditions actually want that to happen?
Yes and no. It depends on how the traditions see their take on reality, because even among the traditions, there's arguments. Although I believe the Verbena would be pretty happy about that.
Yeah. So computers work by basically drawing quintessence, or the web at least draws quintessence through computer interfaces. There is a reason for the chronic eye strain, stiff necks, and headaches of full-time computer users, a reason for the pallid and listless bearings of compulsive net junkies. The internet is literally stealing your soul.
Yeah, or it could be maybe it's just the physical consequences of keeping your neck muscles stiff.
Yeah, but that's the technocratic propaganda.
I think they're just trying to be. I think they're just trying to try too hard.
So, uh, now we have a wonderful image of a man being dragged into the horrors of the internet.
Oh no, those are worms. Like the virus type. Those are worms, computer worms.
Hold on, there's a line that I just saw. Some experts believe that by the year 2000, computers will be as common as televisions are today.
Part they were incorrect with that prediction, but they were also correct because if you think about it, smartphones essentially are microcomputers. And
And I
there's
do
a
love
hell of a
that
lot
is
more smartphones than there are actual computers.
none of that predicted in this book. None of them believe that that is even possible.
They invest quintessence into Met. The supply of prime surges through the electronic reality. Some of the quintessence sustains the existing area. Not even the most optimistic virtual adepts are prepared for this explosion of growth.
But again, the internet just appears as, you know, the applications and the data to sleepers.
Yeah.
Uh, However, those that can possibly shape things.
Also, they appear as plain monochrome geometric features in the net. Uh, Incorrect. The color was discovered as early as the Amiga, dumbass.
Wait, BBS chat rooms communicate incredibly slowly compared to conversations between mages because sleepers have to type their conversations or makes complex VR moves instead of just talking.
Uh, I mean, hypothetically, since you're using a phone line.
A few mages play video games with sleepers, experiencing the game as a full reality while the sleepers watch on flat screen. Very few people can beat an online mage with a
These
joystick.
motherfuckers just be ripping off Reboot. I think reboots from the same time period.
Also, does this explain that people using was it bots and hacks on computer games are technically mages?
Yeah, apparently.
Normal technology on the digital web. So m most equipment is based on plausible advances in sleeper accessible technology. However, so even Void engineers don't have fast and light drives.
Oh, apparently they were correct on the prediction because laptops and desktops actually do surpass TV. But I was right. Smartphones crush both. Like
But I thought,
a great example is there in most African nations, you're not gonna really find computer access to computers and laptops, but 9 times out of 10 you will have phones, even if they're not very good phones.
well, a lot of smartphones because they're using the Chinese ones.
Yep, the ones with the batteries that catch on fire.
No, that's the Korean ones.
I just realized you could legitimately, as like a tradition, just have your ability to cast fireballs being like, oh no, my phone battery's exploding.
Yes.
Oh fuck. That's the fifth time your phone battery's exploded. I gotta
Oh,
stop buying Chinese lithium batteries.
oh, actually, this is interesting. Magical computers. So they multitask hundreds of applications using the mind sphere. Semi-artificial intelligences can be created by virtual apps, binding spirits into their machines. Fetishists may write software for themselves. This is fucking Chat GPT.
Not only is it Chat GPT, they've accidentally kind of created a von Neumann machine. Also, magical computers multitasking using mind sphere. Well, fair enough. You're making an artificial mind. For a minute there, I'm like, wait, you're actually tapping, and then no, no. This is
Uh,
just kind of the realization because during this time period, there's actually a concept called Moore's law, where every year at this point in time, the processing capabilities of a microchip doubles.
uh,
So this is
magical
White Wolf kind of low key actually predicting that yeah, eventually things get ridiculous.
magical machines may perform write functions on read-only storage devices. Terabyte. It says it's like compact discs.
Hey,
Uh,
remember CDs?
yeah. Oh, I do. Terabytes
Terabytes.
of memory are contained on incredibly small microchips.
Yeah, we got terabytes now, buddy.
For all practical purposes, these computers never run out of memory space. I say that as I am probably going to buy another terabyte drive for my computer.
My rebuttal to this is, oh, don't worry, programmers will just refuse to fucking optimize anything anymore. Why do you think modern computer games? Why do you think modern video games are so fucking shit? They're taking advantage of that storage space by basically not doing their fucking job.
Uh, these decks are very portable. Often an adept's computer will be no bigger than a cellular phone or a clipboard. And I want to remind people, this is the 1990s cellular phone.
Actually, this is not. I don't think cellular phones were a real. No, no, there were brick phones. Yeah.
They're basically what they're saying is the brick phone is a computer.
Honestly,
Although the
that's just them ripping off a Star Trek device because they're
although
that.
the clipboard one actually that's the iPad. They actually got the iPad.
No, that's just them ripping off Star Trek because Star Trek has a device that does that.
They have incredibly powerful communication, multimedia systems, capable of recognizing and responding to their users' voice commands, and are capable of producing human-sounding speech patterns. Have this
This is.
already.
I like you love how they're like, oh yeah, yeah, this is what Mage's got, and we're like, yeah, well, what the fuck, man, we got this.
Well, I would say yes. Having this in 1994 would actually be magic. Wait, their computers can receive television and radio transmissions, including signals from satellite stations. The virtual adepts won.
Yeah, they basically predicted streaming, although Enron also predicted streaming.
They can also receive email with a special anti-room programs and that can operate the deck and answer the telephone while unattended.
That
Congratulations. dial-up is no longer needed.
They're bragging about what was the thing that actually existed. If you had satellite or if you had fiber ops were not a thing yet, but actual dedicated internet cables did exist at this point. They just weren't very common.
You can have more than one cellular line. They can link to multiple networks.
Late 90s phones are similar to modern smartphones in size, but about twice as thick. Yeah, because of the components.
So now they talk about talismans, or which is basically just more of the generic stuff. Because well, to access the web, you probably would need either a VR headset, uh, computer, or uh, what would technically be a smartphone.
I'm just realizing these stupid motherfuckers are using the virtual boy. Like they stole the
Yeah,
virtual boy and they're putting on their head and their eyes are bleeding because of the red and black until they use the magic to ignore reality.
yeah. Uh, so all they need is VR goggles and some electrodes for tactile feedback, just for the sensory visitation.
This is just them ripping off cyberpunk in general.
Uh, see. Virtual labs make a simple, personal, computer-ready plug-in VR set available to any mage in the traditions. So icons, they must write a program to create a three-dimensional image or an icon of herself while in the web.
Congrats, you're basically just doing what the Decker did in Shadowrun.
Icon requires a roll of intelligence plus computer, difficulty of 8, 4 or more successes. In fact, actually everything uses computer for this. So if you don't have an intelligent character, you're fucked.
Yeah,
Uh, And some icons might be restrained. For example, if a netrunner comes across a Mad Hatter's Tea Party realm, she may only be able to enter change their icon to that of a little girl, rabbit, or dormouse, or something plausible within the set of the world's laws. Clever mages can often find loopholes in world laws and play ill-defined laws to their benefit.
because again, they're still playing around with this like it's gonna be Second Life when in reality it's just endless cringe.
So to access the internet, you need intelligence computer, 3 successes, difficulty 7, and then use correspondence sensing, which I believe is just correspondence 1.
No, legitimately, after you make your avatar and interact with it, via reboot, like reboot, go into the horrible CGI slop factory. You could just say fuck it and do it whenever you want now.
I like this from the Virtual Boy. Oh shit, many technocrats and mages went blind. That's what the
Probably.
progenitors and the Verbania are for. They just re-give you your eyes.
With astral immersion, the grainy, low-resolution worlds of VR come in breathtakingly sharp focus. Honestly, VR still makes you want to vomit 9 times out of 10.
This actually still is magical.
Yeah, it's still horse shit to this day.
Also,
Mainly
I do.
because what happens here's the thing that I guess you can ignore it as a mage, but good luck, pal. So you got this thing in your head called cochlea, which is your inner ear. So what happens is you're doing stuff and moving in the virtual world, but you're not moving at all, and your ears are telling you you're not moving. So what's going to happen is you're going to start to get dizzy and want to vomit your guts out.
Well, you see, that's if you're using VR. Now, if you do holistic immersion, that's different because you literally enter the net.
I'm envisioning some dumbass doing this and then just getting hit by a bus.
Well, again, considering how big computers are, you're staying inside.
Well, no, because your mind is no longer in his body, so you're still like half stumbling around, possibly. So, for all you know, you might actually fall down the stairs and break your neck and join Turing screaming endlessly in the broken void.
So, in order to enter it from the Umbra, you need to first enter it, and then make their way to the cyber realm and
Which
find
is
many of the
run
open
by the
portals for the web.
Glasswalkers, because these werewolves figured out how to access the internet. Of course they did.
Like much of the primitive magic from which werewolf magic derives, the experience is very painful. But he feels like he is being wrenched apart. Mage's clothes suddenly feel like coarse wire, and visual information becomes too intense to distinguish. So then you can cruise the operating system. This is usually what I think the virtual adepts do. People who reach this apocryphal form of immersion are supposedly seen as a trajectory, numbers, and positioning data floating through the ether.
No, I'm only dunking on Reboot in the sense that I'm like comparing this to it, mainly just because I kind of think that with the in retrospect releases now, this kind of view of the net is almost comical.
Let's see what. Looking at the net, it is a realm where Rene Descartes' omnipotent deceiver has been trapped in the pattern web. Discover that reality has been exploration of other people's minds.
And so basically Second Life, but with more porn. Got it.
In one space, you'll experience a digitized monochromatic rendering of Super Space Trade Wars.
No,
That's
you're not
dated.
going to get that.
That is dated.
Yeah.
That is apparently a very old game. Uh, the imprint of dozens of late-night BBSers in the Verge Web formatted long ago. Tiny two-dimensional spacecraft blast one another away with fire-trailing photon torpedoes and eye-searing pulsar cannons. Another, you may stumble into a private haunted alleyway, which you find an old man draped to a stretcher. He looks over to you at your left shoulder, eyes wide, pupils dilated. His breath stinking of too much alcohol. Oh, oh, you're actually in a hospital, I think, at this point. It
I
says a
think in that
commanding
one. I,
voice echoes down the alleyway towards you. 1 and 2 and 3. Then softly, chanting like a prayer, you hear the doctor repeating the words, "Live, you bastards."
and third, you basically find a child about to have a horrible time on the super internet. Why Wolf can't be blamed too much for this, Sarah? Yeah, but like it's kind of one of the things that kind of really dates this like badly.
Uh, These are called the frontiers or the junk lands.
I think it might be just a case of what happened was Crypto Bros and the virtual reality cult kind of ruined this. Like it lost a lot of its luster when you saw Mark Zuckerberg single-handedly, like, it's entertaining to watch him crash his multi-billion-dollar company No Survivors on a fucking massive flop, but it kind of retroactively poisons the idea. Like you get what I mean when I'm like, yeah, this is cool, but I've seen this in real life, and it's really fucking terrible. Yeah, there's a funness to it, but it's like I'm also reminded of all the people going, "Oh no, it's gonna be this way, and if you can only give me X amount of money so that I can make this in reality, and then everyone else can nickel and dime." Oh no, only 20 people showed up to this terribly coded, like chugging nightmare mess that makes you want to fucking vomit.
Ah, so you got scammed by the syndicate.
And then there's the frontier areas, yeah.
The stacked files, which are uh, seems to be
It's just
basically
Tron. It's fucking
well,
Tron.
it's yeah, pretty much everything's Tron. Stacked files appear to be places where people have showed up more and more, so it's kind of a more consensus part of the internet. There's the unformatted web, which are basically areas of the internet that can be readily warped to fit the visions of anyone who visits it.
There's also the crater where you can learn digital kung fu from I don't know, Mr. Dimmock Death Touch.
Um,
Yeah, I think the core of this is this would be a lot cooler if I was reading this in like say 2020. The problem is I've seen everything on this and I'm kind of like, oh no, because my brain is single-handedly like my brain is being a massive saboteur. Um,
but,
although
but
I will admit some of it is legitimately just I today has not been an amazing day for me, so
go ahead,
it's probably a mix of all factors there.
skip to page 34.
The pull of infinite reflection, the Matterhorn, reality in the web, geography of the web, formatting, free sectors, grids, the junklins, the trash. Oh, hi, Tron.
Look at that image.
Hi, Tron.
God. But I think it's if we were to look at the other one, uh, which was coming out a few years later, it definitely has, I believe, more of a again more of a like Matrix vibe to it. There's a
Which,
lot less of this fantastical.
yeah, the 2.0 is going to be somewhat different in that respect.
So,
Like I said, I think you're also kind of catching me when I'm in a more cynical mood because,
mm,
like I said, you could kind of tell from our intro, I had a rough afternoon. Holy shit! So
so,
I'm a little less willing to play with Gonzo today.
so some of the attribute changes. When you are in the digital web, strength does not matter. Intelligence replaces strength, wits replaces dexterity. The only thing that remains is stamina.
Are you sure this isn't just a power fantasy from people who can't fucking lift, bro?
Yeah, this is for the people that put 3 dots into physical.
Oh yeah, the perspective is wrong because what's happening is they're trying to do kind of a bird's eye view partially, but the problem is they're also trying to do a what's called a lensing effect, like a fisheye view, to indicate the almost spherical nature of this micro setting. Basically, what happened was they designed the building in the back first, then these guys, and then just kind of fucking slapped together the intermingling. Also, their platforms are literally just scribbles. Let's be fair.
I do like the data weight chart. What is virtual weight? One is several pages of text, but I like that. 4, a large CD-ROM game or a set of encyclopedias. Now, I looked it up. I think a 12-inch is about 900 megabytes,
Yeah,
which implies that the 5 to 6 jump then is is pretty impressive.
I think it's a case of they didn't understand what scaling was.
Well, no, I think this is scaling at the time because, well, the one thing, Library of Congress, it is just text at this point. Maybe a few
No,
uh,
no. Library of Congress
movies.
had no. Library of Congress has had movies for like the past 20 years, dude.
Yeah, this was 30 years ago.
Yeah. No,
I
that
do
still
like that.
doesn't. No, that still doesn't matter because like they were preserving movies since the 70s, man.
Okay,
Like
but
Star Wars. Star Wars was one of them.
they preserve the originals or the specials.
The originals, like the originals are all stored down in their library. They
And
even
this
made
is
it
why
a
we
war.
fund and this is why we fund the Library of Congress.
Yeah, like legitimately, there's a shitload of movies. So, yeah, the scale is massively different.
Yeah. Although again, 3, a computer game with lots of graphics would be smaller than a large CD-ROM.
Which is funny because both are technically computer games. My guess is one of them is designed to be like an in application sort of thing.
Yeah. So, damage on the digital web. Uh, if you can feel it, it's real. Uh, and
Matrix rules, basically, if you're
yeah.
wondering.
However, if you die online, you don't necessarily die in real life. The fragments of the virtual essence may come back to their body, but there'd be a system shock. Character who dies in a restricted sector, though, suffers a different fate. In this case, because he is torn to shreds as he heads back, he loses 2 points from his mental attributes, and they may not be healed, only repurchased with experience.
Yeah,
If he makes a stamina roll with a difficulty of 7, if he fails the roll, he goes into a coma. If he botches, he dies.
yeah. If you die in Canada, you die for real. But yeah, if you, in case you're wondering, they use int in this, which means that basically, yeah, this is the power fantasy for those who don't even lift, bro.
Then again, I feel like if you had high strength and you did like life,
Well, remember,
Because
you could go into the internet by using the power of manifestation by just hallucinating. So you could just
what
be.
about yeah. No, what about this as a spell? Because brain is a muscle, correct?
No, it is not. It's
That's
mostly
organ.
fat.
Okay, it's fat. So let's say you're a fat guy. You take that fat and you put it in the brain, make the brain bigger, and by some weird logic that gives you a dot or two in intelligence.
So the problem is, I know the mechanical. I think that might be the problem with Mage, at least with this setting. Is just because I'm like, oh yeah, then here's the mechanical, here's the why. I'm like nitpicking and being because the problem is the fat actually does not work like that because it's also neuron cells which are different from fat.
All right, fine. You take your spine.
That feel when you shit post hard enough to
Good
kill a
enough to
man.
kill a man.
Yeah.
What
Oh
would
God, this
that
is
be?
powered by the power. This is powered by the apocalypse all over again.
No, what would that be stat wise? Um,
I don't know if you slurp your spine and go boneless. I guess that probably can give you an extra point of intelligence. Funnily enough, actually, the spine, since it's part of your neuron systems, your spine as well as other nerves actually can have some autonomy. Funnily enough, there's a dude who was paralyzed, I think, from the neck down or from the waist down. And what happened was they put an electrostimulator on the part of the spine that wasn't actually that was cut off, and just thinking about moving had the thing move.
you
Which,
know, it would be
yeah,
to
your
shitpost to
spinal
death.
cord, yeah.
Shitpost to death. I'd say charisma plus. I want to say linguistics, or you could do. I'd say charisma plus computer,
Nah, linguistics sounds funnier because you're using
or
bands to fucking kill them.
or I guess subterfuge or intimidation.
I mean, since you're a mage, you'd also probably have to use a sphere.
Mind.
Yeah, I'd say mind sphere plus the language plus your charisma.
It's some sort of like rune or icon, and you just show a troll face.
I mean, another alternative could be because of how shit posting works. You could just use a shock image, which just means that you have to have craft artistry and then like, or craft photography or or something, and then like another mind or nightmare sphere or some shit.
Oh, the Pain Olympics. What is this? Oh God.
So yeah,
So,
paradox in the digital web. So it works the same way. It's just not as obvious, and
and it often takes the form of, I guess, a localized systems crash.
yeah.
Because basically, you crashed the computer.
You also
Uh,
kind of damage the web itself somewhat, a little bit. Also
but
fun.
again,
Well, here's the fun thing. Actually, here's a weird little side fact. Uh, paradox. You can accumulate paradox in the net, but it doesn't follow you in meat space. It
because it
only
didn't
fucks up
happen.
your icon.
I mean, it's the same thing. Isn't it if you're in a like a Horizon realm, you kind of paradox free?
Yes and no. Depends on the rule set in the Horizon realm.
But yeah, it's not in the real world, therefore it doesn't happen in the real world. Uh,
Also, paradox backlash causes the web itself to eat shit.
which they give an example of a virtual adept Barabi, Trisha trading BBS with a sleeper Brenda.
Also, if you're
Fi-
wondering, a Barabi is they're pieces of Titanic shit because they are actually Nefandi.
Voluntary Nefandi, if I remember correctly.
No, they're
Or
forcibly shoved through the call. You're thinking of Wittershanks, I think, which are the ones that are reincarnated.
that's the reincarnated ones, yeah. But I guess, well, no, you could, Barabi could be voluntary or not.
They can
Voluntary
be,
would have to be some very
but
sick
they're much
people.
more commonly thrown through the call.
So Trisha talks to Brenda's icon grid, tells her that her monitor screen is going to flash green. Um, Trisha asks if she's one of the employees of United States Online. No, I'm much more powerful, and now I'm going to blow up your monitor.
Oh no, she's part of the GNA.
That's what GNAA.
GNAA, yeah.
I do not know what United States Online is.
America Online with the numbers filed off.
Oh, it's America. And now I'm gonna blow up your monitor. Brenda gets nervous, unplugs her modem connection. Trisha knows the computer no longer has an access point, but she decides to let it fly with electrical burst, and the monitor explodes. Just like this is Nafandi trolling.
Yeah. I mean, this still inflicts paradox for her though, because
Also, are you referring to the trolling through using mind instead of correspondence?
gaming's paradox buildup occasionally fucks shit up. Well, yeah, because whiteout backlash sectors and immediately connecting sectors can crash. Major system crashes, which would be the equivalent of like an entire phone line system going down.
Yeah.
Discord actually regularly experiences paradox backlash because there's a big paradigm war in it.
And they go with sphere effects. Correspondence provides access to the net. All mages within the digital realm have the correspondence raised by 1 to a maximum of their arete or 5.
Basically, the web allows correspondence to work better because you're kind of more limited. Like you're more able to communicate, so to speak.
Entropy. Digital realm is safe from entropy. As programs break down, parameters lose strength, barriers crack, web slingers slowly overdose on their senses.
Yeah, you can just legitimately cause massive
Yeah.
crashes if you felt like it.
Control randomness. Entropy 2. Manipulate variables to control programs. That is
Basically, they're using entropy to essentially find a way to hack by fishing
yeah.
out details.
Forces. I think you get with the fact it says forces 1. I think you might get an additional forces. It doesn't say
Not
so.
really. It only specifies for correspondence, so I don't think you do.
You
They're just
can, but
explaining how you
yeah,
can use the spheres.
yeah, you can generate energy. Life limited, but again, you can attack the meat of a cybernaut.
Also, you can use force to essentially do web design, which I think is pretty cool.
Also, what is this image on page
Oh
41?
no, I think you're correct actually, now that I'm looking at it. So entropy does not get a boost. Forces does because you get a 1, so I'm assuming you get a +1 boost.
What is that?
What?
The guy on the right on page 41.
Uh Internet man fighting Shreknet, I guess. I don't know.
I don't even know if that's a person, considering I think the woman is riding the vehicle.
They could be both. They could both be icons. Let's be fair.
Yeah. So let's see. With life, primarily it's like sense life. Yeah, not that much. Matter, same thing, since well, you're
It's
not in the
electronic. It's
real
not
world.
mechanical. Yeah.
Mind. So the difficulty of all mind magic is reduced by 1 for any target that experiences virtual reality. Yeah, it's all in your head.
Yeah.
Uh, you need mind 3 for instant messaging.
Mind 4 allows you to do mind control.
Prime. Prime 3. So Prime 1 lets you sense the quintessence in the web. Prime 2 allows you to feel the patterns of forces within the web. So yeah, Prime always seems like Prime's very essential for everything.
Prime is very useful as a sphere. Most of the time, you will pick it up as one of your spheres.
He's a Kartar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Prime 3 allows you to actually channel quintessence through the web, so you can actually draw from the web itself.
I think you can actually now make a chantry in the web.
You can. Which are
Uh,
best described as those terrible Wiccan Geocities websites.
Spirit, pretty much nothing.
Well, no, you can do stuff in there.
Oh, well, yeah, because of the connection to the Umbra.
I mean, you can legitimately make your computer powered by ghosts, and it works fine. Like,
Actually, this is
remember, their
very
magical
much,
computers
yeah.
are partially bound by spirits.
This is very good to work with the glass walkers.
Oh yeah. Like I said, I do like the concept. It's just when they really tried to upsell the internet, it
Yeah.
gets a little silly.
Uh, time.
It makes sense. It's just
Yeah.
kind of like holy shit.
Yeah. Let's see. Time. You've got time 4. Um.
Yeah, time works in here as well.
Yeah.
You can also speed up and slow down processes, so you can actually overclock your machine with time.
Yeah. Time 5 functions as it does in real space. Time travel and side-stepping time are vulgar effects in the digital web, and a few master of time said to have been trapped in mysterious paradoxical time realms.
Yeah, don't fuck around with time in machine world.
So you, of course, then create your own virtual realm to be whatever you want.
Yeah.
Requires a point of will to adjust, force loop to adjust your concept. Arete roll difficulty 6.
This basically means you make a web page for yourself.
Imagining then how is Where the Man Now dog created?
Funeral sites powered by the commemorated. Yeah, you could do that.
Oh wow! Actually, I'm thinking about it. Wraith connecting with digital realm, like
Like you can bridge out of the Shadowlands into the Skinlands through. Yeah, you could
oh yeah,
hypothetically do that.
no, like a weird thing of like someone who's deceased, their Facebook page somehow is still active.
Yeah, like I said, the concept works more and more now that I've kind of thought about it. It actually kind of does work. It's just kind of like
Oh wait, I got a
it
better idea.
mechanically works. It's just the style clashes with mine.
Like abandoned websites, trying to
Like,
navigate through a pathway that is somewhat lost to time.
I mean, yeah, you could technically have a variant of Wraith. Actually, that could be something. You could have legitimately a Wraith or two in the net.
So you have
They're the literal ghosts of the old websites past.
so you have the werewolf meeting mages, and again, focusing on the glass walkers because they work with the weaver.
Well, the Glasswalkers also are the most likely to actually use machinery because most werewolves return to doggo.
Oh,
I'm
Malkavian.
overgeneralizing, but still.
Yeah. Oh, instead of the ShrekNet, it's the Malkavian Madness Network for how vampires meet mages. The digital
This might have
realm.
been before ShrekNet was invented.
Yeah,
Also, it makes sense because of the cobwebs.
yeah. Digital realm is occasionally overrun with icons of pale, gray-skinned men and women some in campy bat cloaks. They play strange pranks and make indecipherable comments to the other net runners. The pranksters deny that they are vampires, but also make it clear they are gleefully lie a lot. Oh, so it's 4chan.
Basically, the cobwebs kind of connect into the net as well.
They cannot suck blood from the netrunners in a conventional sense, but the Malkavian madness is especially contagious in the fluid reality of the digital realm.
That means demontation is even more effective over there.
Yeah, they give various crossover ideas, but in this case, yeah, very much focusing on the Malkavians.
Which I think is interesting. The problem is they're kind of going fish milk, which is a little silly. I don't know. Like, I think the concept is cool. It's just the way they present it comes is a bit off to me.
But
And I
well, we'll be honest. If you're because Malkavians they look somewhat normal. If you're just spending your unlife while you're in the night just on the internet, you kind of probably are a little bit crazy.
yeah, speaking of which, the first one is a virus.
I'm a computer virus.
Also, they're just information's bleeding. They're hacking and destroying data. I don't know why they're going so hard on the Malkavians, but it's fine. I just kind of wish they were a little less fish milky.
Like I guess because the vampires they can't go into the digital web.
I think they're going with that because again, Malkavians do have the Madness Network, the cobwebs. My guess is they're kind of it has the term cobwebs, webs, weaver, slightly connected to the net, which also kind of has the web motif. I think that's what they're going with.
Also, check that image, the image below of, I guess the Silver Surfer punching somebody in the face
Yeah.
without a fist.
Again, like I said, they have a specific style. It's just for
This is
some
the internet,
reason
everyone.
yeah.
So the next big thing is the spies. That's supposed to be domain or demise.
Spy demise.
So this is sort of a haven uh, that all mages kind of go. It's Elysium.
No, wait, the cobble connected to the internet to produce X. I could believe that. So yeah, this is basically free neutral ground Elysium.
Maybe this is maybe the ShrekNet worked with some mages to create Cow.
Maybe. They I will say their description of the spy's demise. I'm not really a fan of it being from the point of view of a first person, and it just kind of rapidly switches out of first person for no reason.
Yeah,
I don't like that. I
White Wolf
actually
does this all
really
the
don't like
time,
that
but yeah,
because it just rapidly shifts between and I don't like it. I don't like how they're trying to explain this to me.
oh, I do like this. When computer bulletin boards were created, when we introduced bulletin board systems, computer geeks everywhere logged on. Mages, sleepers, it didn't matter. After a while, these BBSs became nightclubs of a sort. Didn't they serve the same social functions, aside from getting drunk anyway? Some of them even
They're
developed
not wrong.
symbols so they could pretend they were serving each other drinks online. Folks make friends without prejudice because they couldn't judge each other on appearance.
No, they could judge you. They could judge the living shit out of you based on what you typed. Oh, also, if you're wondering why shit like leet speak was a very common thing, and just the garbage text like gibberish, that's because one of the easiest ways to get on the internet was via phone. Cell phones were a thing, and you could type with it
Rather than typing it 3 times to get to, or
to get
two or
it
three times to
proper.
get to the
Fuck
number.
that. Just use garbage.
And nobody knows who made it, though. Technocracy saw a chance to manipulate sleepers into giving up their natural contestants to help define reality, while the adepts wanted to encourage sleepers to push forward the limits of their new frontier. Everyone wanted access to the Taz. There were huge battles raging throughout our fair club. BBSs crashed all the time.
Yeah,
Uh,
I just kind of like the way they explained this origins. I kind of zoned out.
It basically is this is a chat room, but
Yeah, it's a chat room with an
3D.
internet war or equivalent. Then they actually get to describing the spy's demise not from a first person point of view, which makes it a lot more what we call readable.
So it functions as a bar, at least in terms of social functions. You can't draw a map of it because no one knows how big it is or what it looks like. Screens hang in every corners, showing rooms of sleepers or virtual worlds created by the very best. It's a restricted sector which changes passwords every so often. Newbies usually get in by performing embarrassing acts such as standing upside down, dancing, and playing a song for the patrons or whatever.
Again, this is running into that problem where the concept's fine, the execution just kind of intrinsically, it's like rubbing every bone in my body wrong.
I guess it also might be because this might be one of the only few places you can actually get drunk on the internet.
Eh.
Uh, you have one is a phone booth that changes your icons clothing to spandex with an optional cape.
This is starting to sound more and more like those terrible metaverses.
The patrons are more bizarre than demise. Icons of all shapes and sizes.
This is just
Only
Second
way to be
Life,
certain
but
of
with less
anyone.
porn.
Well, it's White Wolf. It might be more porn.
Yeah, correct.
Phil
Especially since,
Bricado is involved in this.
well, also don't forget this is the world of darkness, which is our world but grimmer. So there's gonna be a lot more snuff porn.
But it's the internet, so no one dies.
They
Oh,
just
wait, no.
defrag.
Yeah.
Derez, actually, that's the term.
Oh,
Derez.
Nefandi are here. Nefandi can show up here.
Lovely.
Postings from thousands of electronic folders cover the walls. Some regular establish email addresses. The Mize patrons deal info from dark corner tables. Some trade.
I think I know why this is actually not working with me. This reminds me way too much of a tech bro sales pitch. Like this reminds me way too much of Second Life's sales pitch.
We're establishing a digital nightclub, a social
Yeah,
place
yeah,
for you to
that's
share,
why.
to share a night with friends, where you can go and experience all the joys of a busy nightclub, but without the annoying lines, loud music, awful service, and all from the comfort of your own home. Just $19.99 a month,
Yeah,
plus shipping and handling.
that's the core of why I think this book is not gelling with me as well as it can, because I get what they're going for, but there's that part of my brain that goes, and this is the tech bro sales pitch that'll inevitably not even achieve 1% of its aims and be a massive failure and scam.
Well, I mean, there is at least some uniqueness in terms of the different public areas.
Also, I think there's also kind of like they're trying to make this wild and unique and interesting thing because you're kind of the thing with the net is you can kind of defy reality and it's basically like Horizon Realms but on the cheap, so to speak, if you know how to code. So
So
you
you
can essentially alter reality and rules to be how you want. The problem is the examples they're giving are just kind of like I'd see this in a cheap sci-fi movie where it's like, okay, we have some extra props so we can make this look like the internet. Or this is the metaverse pitch where you have an even more robotic Zuckerberg outside of a terrible fucking image of the Eiffel Tower
well,
on a 1990s basic fucking free to make background, and it
well, no,
looks terrible.
now here's the thing. So the major rooms. The first one is the spaceport. So this is Eve Online. This is actually Eve Online.
How embarrassing.
Paradise. This is Second Life because they do say Paradise connects to chat rooms where sleepers go to talk or engage in virtual flirting and cybersex.
All of my bones are entering attack mode.
Well, here's one. Cathedral. It's a giant cathedral with stained glass windows that look Christian design, but closer look they depict scenes of ascension. It is a religion forum that apparently does not uh, evolve into hatred and yelling.
The more this gets described, the more I'm seeing like what they're trying to do, but I'm also seeing the terrible metaverse equivalent where you only have like 50 people in the entire server.
Oh, that's the next one. That's the boardroom. It is for the syndicate. A long rectangular table of virtual mahogany dominates the room. Around the table are a number of high-backed leather chairs.
I'm just envisioning some stolen Unreal assets that are just poorly ported into this room. You're moving at like 10 frames per second. There used to be a way to just use the phone to access the website that actually allows you to call the business.
My God, it even has a watermark.
I'm not kidding. Like I'm seeing this shitty metaverse thing. It's inexplicably
Actually,
ruining
I
it.
like this one. Serenity Grove. It is a well landscaped park where you can sit here, enjoy the sunshine, take a walk, fly kites. You cannot do any magic. You are given a warning. First offense, second offense. You escort the offender.
The
A
oftener
park
because
ranger.
they spelled it wrong.
Oh, the off.
The
But
oftener.
uh, this actually is the most interesting thing because of the implication that even in a this fantasy setting where yes, you could do whatever you want, I can actually see mages wanting to not worry about the Ascension War, magic, or anything like that.
I mean, you can only talk about the Paradigm War so much before you just want to fucking strangle everyone else in the goddamn room.
And I could especially see this, like, let's say if you are in a area where there's a lot of conflict or it's an urban environment and you cannot go to this area in real life, this is where you go.
Yeah, I mean, there's only so much you can continue to. Sometimes you just want to use your spheres to do whatever, man. You know.
But no, this is no spheres, no
Yeah,
nothing.
sometimes it's good to just unplug and vibe. You know, touch grass, even if it's virtual.
So here are
So
the
far, this is the only section of this entire area that I kind of like, and that's just
on.
because I'm not thinking of the terrible metaverse equivalent where it
Oh, no,
looks
no, no.
like dog
Now we go
shit.
to one of the most interesting parts of White Wolf. They're NPCs.
Oh God.
The NPCs of the Spies to Mines. First one up is Jessica Young, a former void engineer, now a barkeep. Uh,
Imagine doing this shit as a hot pocket for free.
let's see.
This is just a fucking Reddit bot or Discord bot. Just a fucking hot pocket.
They and
Fucking
yes, she
Jenny.
does it for free.
Fucking dumb Jenny
No,
idiot.
no, no. When not making maps, she loves to sketch people and scenery in the web. She's a deviant. She, she's a Discord moderator with a DeviantArt account. Then you have 23, a member of the Iteration X. Is Iteration X or Iteration 10?
Iteration X, I think it's what it's called.
23 appears as an attractive man wearing a tuxedo. Always sits by himself and lets people
Attractive.
come to him.
Attractive.
Eh,
Lurch looking motherfucker.
eh. Information broker.
Right.
He was once a human being, but now he has become more machine than man. As was a sleeper and a mage, he spent his life bitter and isolated. He was raised by a fanatical grandmother who beat into him a loathing of all life and life processes. He hates and shuns his body and suffers violent attacks when emotions begin to overwhelm him. His body is located in a heavily secured bunker beneath the basement of his house in Boise, Idaho. The body is almost completely cybernetic. He remains continually hooked up to his computer system and divides his time between the digital web and autocathonia.
This guy's more of a neckbeard than an actual fucking neckbeard. How embarrassing.
So, what is this guy in the modern internet?
A hikikomori, but even they have to actually sometimes escape out to get hot pocket or noodles to eat as they stay in their house.
I'm thinking he's a drama channel.
Well, no, technically, they can just order it now and like go to their
Yeah.
front step, but they're still more active than this fuck.
Well, no, yeah, he can order Uber Eats and then get a drone to just deliver it and feed it into his mouth.
No, he can't because he's mostly machine now. He has to
Yeah,
constantly use his mage powers to not instantly die from blood clots.
well, hold on, I want to see what his spheres.
I bet he's more
Oh no,
blood
he's
clot than man.
oh no, he's gonna die. Correspondence 3, Forces 2, Life
This
1,
man's
Mind 2,
fucked.
Matter
Life
1,
one?
Prime 2.
No
Yeah, he's
offense,
dead.
buddy. You need like a life 2 or 3 to be the absolute couch potato. I have fused into my seat and have constantly soiled myself. Like this motherfucker. Also, on
Shit.
top of that,
Wait,
he's
hold on.
like the neckbeard because he's trying to look attractive when in reality he looks like a soggy potato. It's just stuck in a fucking pod.
Milady? Surprised he doesn't have the trilby.
He needs
But,
the trilby.
Jimmy, shit, how do you make Janice and mods worse in World of Darkness?
Well,
I mean,
here.
in this case, this one is okay.
I'm making fun of her because she's a hot pocket. I'm making like 23 is a million times more cringe.
Oh, the next one up. Acid. He's a hollow one. Because of course he is.
Yeah.
The mage called Acid is wild on the outside and shy on the inside. He creates truth and esoteric information.
This is the man who's gonna be, this is the man who in this is written in 94. This is the man who in 8 years from now will start claiming 9/11 was a technocracy job.
He grew up a culturally isolated suburban neighborhood that had no room for his wild insights, so he sought escape in computers and drugs.
No, he's just an average middle schooler. Holy shit. He has Chuninbyo syndrome.
He's flamboyant, insecure cybernaut who'd like to accomplish something great but pities himself too much. Oh, so he's an incel?
He's an incel.
Talks in pseudo philosophy about everything, especially sex, drugs, violence, and
No,
rock
no, no.
music.
This is the motherfucker who you. This is the motherfucker who, if I was a Malkavian on the net, I would make the early proto 4chan just so I could make fun of him. This would be like one of the first cows, like one of the first lol cows, man. Because this is the dude who would appear on like I am very smart posts. Like the type of person who tries desperately to prove their intellect by reading a fucking thesaurus.
See, you see, I do an atheist reading of the Bible, so I'm much smarter than most Christians.
Hint, talking pseudo-philosophy about everything, especially sex, drugs, violence, and rock music. Always try to act cool, but occasionally... Wait, no, this is just ADF if you had an IQ of 100 rather than 85.
Well, I mean,
And he
not
was
not a
like
political
17. Let's be
anarchist.
fair. I think he's supposed to
Yeah.
only be like a late teenager, very just turned an
Uh,
adult.
yeah, they don't give age, but they do give image. Acid appears as a gleaming angel with a mohawk and strange tattoos on his body.
Well, that's his icon. That's his terrible
Yeah.
fan fiction. That's his terrible fan fiction, like self-insert icon.
Oh, and then there's this person, Kaleidoscope, virtual adept. No one in the Spider-Man is certain of Kaleidoscope's age or sex. Icon is varied, but prefers to use millions of bright, scintillating colors to create the icon. Always wears a piece of clothing or jewelry with a gecko lizard on it. Uh, Background. Kaleidoscope has been in the digital web just a little too long or suffered too many effects from quiet. He, she, it shifts icons continually. Never remains static and uses quintessence to reshape the parameters of her virtual element as often as its icons. That's because of this, Kaleidoscope has become quite a celebrity in the spy's demise. Uh, Although some mages worry that he, she, it is slipping towards the marauders.
This is the type of person who you'd find fucking obnoxious, honestly. No offense, that's actually more obnoxious than anything else. Hey, no, here's the Trilby guy.
This is the. I don't know what would be appropriate, but the word gooner, but in social situations.
Yeah,
So schooner?
yeah. Yeah,
Oh,
this is very accurate to the net, but also it's like reminding you why you'd never want to run a goddamn game on the net, like
yeah,
legitimately.
John Courage. I think this is an actual character that's been in other stuff.
I think so.
It says Secret Agent John Courage. The name is enough to chill the souls of technomancers and traditionalists alike. So he may have been a double agent working for New World Order, but also the virtual adepts.
No, he's basically Mac. He's basically Mac from Indiana Jones and the aliens who turn you into CGI slop.
No, mix 2 parts angst with 1 part of a Doc Savage novel, and you got John Courage.
No, he's just Mac from Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, right down to the random double betrayals that would actually result in him getting a triple tap execution in real life.
White Wolf cringe is glorious. Oh, it is. Oh, it so is.
This is fun. Like I said, I will give my full opinion. I think you kind of already know what my full opinion is partially, but holy shit.
Uh, Next one is Astarte.
She named
Remember the
herself after a Semitic goddess. Cool. Also known as
Sons of the
Astaroth. Part of the Ars Goetia fucking demonology textbook.
icon appears as a woman with perfectly molded figure and a void black skin and hair with stars, moons, and planets and comets swirling around. Background. Astarte was always fascinated by the worlds of such authors as H. G. Wells, Jules Verne, Edgar Rice Burroughs, and the like. She longed to sail along the canals of Mars, travel through time, and venture the dark depths of the oceans. The space age shattered her youth with its revelations about the lifelessness of the rest of the solar system.
I love it. Absolutely ruined. It's
She's a
total.
fucking nerd.
No, total sci-fi nerd. Oh, no. This is Movie Bob. If Movie Bob was a woman,
No,
you stole the future I deserve.
no, because not on a Fondy.
Well, no, because remember, Movie Bob was always super angry that NASA never got more funding. This is the same energy.
Kaleidoscope is just failing at being a human.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, no. She's the person. The story is the person that writes those like 100,000 word fan fictions.
Apparently, for some reason, she built an entire computer system out of old vacuum tubes and crap.
Well, son of the ether. So yes, they can do that.
Yeah, no, it just kind of seems a little silly.
Oh, I like the bouts of quiet. She thinks that she ruled the solar system millennia ago and that some force stripped the ether away and slew her children on most of the planets. All the Earthlings managed to survive. She has never bound rune fetters her minions that she likes to call on in combat.
So, a marauder in all but name, basically.
Okay, yeah, that's his movie, Bob.
Future
This is
that I earned. The future that I deserve.
the
God
Mayo
damn.
ghouls that destroyed my fantasy. We could have had Moonwheat. We had Moonwheat.
No, we could have had aliens. We did have aliens. You killed them.
And now you deserve to die. And so just types on Twitter.
On a terrible vacuum tube piece of shit that constantly explodes.
Female movie Bob. Somehow having smaller tits than him.
Oh, cool. Nightwind, who, like, also the names are terrible.
Oh, well, this is pure 90s.
Yeah. Yeah, but you know
Where
what they're missing? They're missing the numbers because there's always going to be someone who stole the name first.
that was 23.
That's what I mean, though. Like they should have
Well,
numbers, like username and then numbers, because you're almost never gonna actually get the name you want. You got to put like a fucking couple series of numbers on it, like 582 or something.
yeah. You know what? I'd love if they did a remake of this like every 5 to 10 years. Because I just want to see the username change. Because by the mid 2000s, everything would be XX something something 69
No. What
420.
would also be great is you could have like members of the syndicate just eating crow like during the .com bubble burst. Like you see them like, oh no, we lost all of our money.
They're jumping out. They're jumping out of their digital boardroom.
Several of them are in prison for committing massive amounts of fraud. Magic can't stop you from the IRS. We got our own wizards in there.
The IRS somehow a source of quintessence and banality. So let's see. This Nightwind. So dream of creating something beyond what the
Triple X
digital realm is
yeah.
now. XX. Not well. You're missing the 69.
According to his understanding of correspondence, space is an illusion. So, hey, this person legitimately thinks space is a hoax. Now,
Well, I mean,
admittedly, as a mage, you can do this, but still.
change the world. My final message. Bye.
Goodbye disappears using the Windows
Uh,
95 startup noise.
yeah. Role-playing hints. You are better than anyone else, but you generally treat people the way they treat you.
Yes, the 15-year-old child.
Yeah. Most of his virtuals are gothic cyberpunk style sprawls where he is the biggest CEO of the largest mega corporation.
How embarrassing.
Timothy Blackguard, aka Microwolf. This is a Glasswalker.
Also, look, he is legitimately milady.
No, so background. Microwolf is a Glasswalker werewolf born of human parents. He was the run of the litter, a freakish midget with a rough animalistic face. He was abandoned and lived in institutions so the Glasswalkers found and rescued him. Oh, many werewolves mistake him for a Mattis
He's just
or
that
McGee.
ugly.
They think dwarfism is because of the mutation.
And he's
Very
just
sensitive about his height, and he insists on appearing smaller than he actually is in the real world. When he transform,
if you don't love me the way you should be.
Ahmed
This
Ragabash
guy's more
Glasswalker.
embarrassing than half the mages we fucking looked at. Is it because he has a micro? Yeah, he has a micro dick. You can tell. Actually, when Bill Gates named his company Microsoft, he was thinking of this guy when he named it.
Bill, Gaia owes you a few, and you're here to collect. He's gonna meet Gaia in the Umbra and force her to make his dick bigger.
Also, I love the idea. Well, remember, strength doesn't matter, so the werewolf ability to punch hard means shit in the internet. So, have fun.
Well, this is, I think, also explaining a bit for mage characters. What does a werewolf do?
True, not everyone was insane enough to get the nightmare that is chaos factor. They might not know about that.
I like the opinions. Nafandi provides more than adequate cover for attempts to corrupt and consume avatars of the weak. It is a twisted joy to move alongside the technomancer's tradition mages. Marauders, the joys of virtual fantasy are nothing compared to the truth. The entire digital realm serves as nothing but a net, a great enclosing net to catch many wriggling fishes. Oh, the tragedy for the poor sleepers who worship the web but cannot see the spider looming over them, preparing to strike.
The verbosity of these clowns makes me want to wring their necks in real life and in cyberspace.
Technocracy. We have conceded the necessity of the existence of the spy's demise. We hope that the popularity of the BBSs and online services will teach people to rely on technology for everything. As long as we allow it to exist, you should also use it to learn the plans of the traditions. And then, same thing with the traditions. They just all use this place to continue the Ascension War.
I'm gonna be real. 90% of this place sucks. 0 out of 10. Go to Second Life instead. At least with Second Life, you can get some embarrassing ERP done. There's some rumors about it. That's, eh. Allegedly Nafandi run it, but whatever. God, there's a shitload of rumors. Hey,
They
look,
really
someone's
want you
about
to.
to inject something that probably shouldn't be shown.
What? It's just data. It's just a USB port.
Oh yeah. Oh no, it's just the 3.5 millimeter socket joint, which are usually used for things like headphones.
Oh, he's jacking in.
So that's what they call it.
Actually, you realize on the bottom, it has the fast forward icon.
Faster,
So
faster, faster, faster.
I think he's actually injecting speed,
Yeah,
literal speed.
he probably is, which is cute. Like I said, again, the biggest I'll get into it. Sorry. Otherwise, I'll repeat myself. Like this
Uh,
one, tail recursion.
yeah. So
This
this
is the story.
is story, but it's also I think it's
Oh
a
god, it uses the
chronicle you can
fucking
do.
spy's demise. God damn it.
They use it as a launching point. Your quest is to find von Neumann.
Which I referenced because he hypothesized the concept of a von Neumann machine. What's that, you say? It's a machine that you built to build other machines, and then those machines build even more advanced machines until you get a rapid expansion of technology until you reach what's called singularity, which is
This
when
is Dr. John von Neumann.
I think that's the same guy.
He created a artificial intelligent construct named Rose, composed of sentient silicon, trademark, is the most ambitious undertaking. Believed that the key to ascension lay in the eradication of paradox, in order to alter reality sufficient to permit Rose to perform such impossible feats of logical reasoning, von Neumann had to inject enormous amounts of quintessence from the web into Rose. So he is going to siphon away the energy of the internet to power his AI.
This just sounds more and more like actual modern times now, where you're just burning electricity to do things.
Also, Rose actually does not exist. So actually, here's what he is. He is going to destroy the internet to create his own OC.
Okay.
Rosachu. This is Rosachu.
Yeah, I could see it.
This is Chris Chan as a mage.
Grey Goo is the von Neumann horror. Yeah, yeah. Grey Goo is essentially that as a scenario. It's the nanobots gone rogue. And,
Oh,
it's also the hyperbolic time chamber, basically.
and then there's the various scenes of this going down.
You essentially go through a massive amount of paradox realms.
The key to getting out of the paradox realm is inherently paradoxical. So every attempt will throw you back to a deeper level. Trying to get out of the ordinary computer locks it in infinite loops. When the solution store acknowledge that there is no solution, or recognize the nature of a paradox, it is inherently unsolvable.
I'm gonna be honest. This just feels like
Oh, go to page 73. There is a wonderful image
getting out.
of
Yeah,
a
fair enough.
guillotine made out of a floppy disk.
Oh, that's nice.
Between it looks like two computers. This is a good 90s metaphor for the internet.
The best way to describe this story, from what I can tell, is just it's random bullshit go. Which, I mean, yeah, you're dealing with paradox, but this is not. I don't think this is a very good adventure to start with. Because you have to go through each paradox level, which means it's just like random bullshit go.
Oh, they add more characters at the end.
And in each level, a sphere of magic is completely unavailable, and another sphere is enhanced. Yeah, this is just. Eh. I'm gonna be honest, this is not what I'd probably open up with as an adventure. Here's John von Neumann.
Sons of the Ether. Correspondence 5.
Yeah, I mean, you kind of need high correspondence to be able to work with the internet.
Bertrand Gerard. Virtual Adept. Appears to be in his 30s and is heavy set. Carries a laptop with him at all times in a carrying bag with a shoulder strap. They worked together in the 70s. That's why.
Yeah.
And scene two characters. Captain Douglas is a Sons of the Ether who is the captain of the Starship Endeavour. He has a vision to bring to life the object of his greatest fantasies, the famous starship from America's most popular science fiction television series.
Oh yeah, Galaxy Quest. You know, with Captain Nesmith. Yeah, that's a great TV show. They never did do a remake of it though.
Oh, he has leadership and organization talents to make such an undertaking feasible, but he has to rely on adepts and masters from many engineering and scientific fields.
So he actually has no fucking clue what he's doing. He has to hire peons to do it for him.
Well,
That's
no,
fitting.
he's getting a bunch of other nerds together to reenact Star Trek.
Yeah, that's fitting though.
I think he may have gotten actual normal people. He's like, I've created the holotech guys. We can reenact Star Trek.
Even though the point of the holodeck was you decided to go on any adventure you chose. You know, honestly, if they wanted to, I think I think a better internet story for Mage would have been just to steal one of the holodeck episodes from Star Trek and reframe it.
Oh, and he has a Ukrainian woman with him.
Ma-
with Yana Tanov.
I'm not gonna say mail order pride, but I've already said it.
Well, this is 94, so it's after the Soviet Union collapsed.
Yeah, when Russia and the former Confederation of Independent Systems, it's all of them were in a horrible economic nightmare. I am
Is a
not
prom.
kidding. Russia
Oh,
in this time period, as well as most of the former Eastern Bloc, was experiencing what is called an internal nightmare from which you could not escape from financially.
because it turns out that radically shifting your economic system and political system
Also,
is
don't
not
forget the
good.
complete destruction of supply chains because the Soviet Union completely collapsed, so a lot of industries did not have access to former materials anymore.
Hold on, what the background? So she was a promising physicist in the field of quantum mechanics when Vance Douglas brought her to the Horizon Realm, where the Endeavor was docked and awakened her avatar, which meant she wasn't awakened beforehand.
He love
She's been
bombed her too.
Yeah, a valuable member of the team. She's deeply in love with him, though he's too focused on the Endeavor to notice his loss.
Also, it's really insulting. Ukrainian, linguistics, Russian. What are you trying to say,
Oh,
White Wolf?
well, I mean, there's no linguistics for. Oh, you're right.
What are you
There's no
trying to
linguistics
say
for
with this,
English,
White Wolf?
unless she's she's not originally from Ukraine. But oh God, oh,
What are
oh,
you
no.
trying to say with this, White
Linguistics
Wolf?
too, Russian and French.
What are you trying to say with this, White Wolf? Maybe she's
Well,
from the
actually,
Donbass or Crimea.
yeah. Well, actually, wait. I would assume maybe with the scientific background, you might want to use French and Russian.
No, not really. Russian.
I'm
The
I'm
only the
trying to
only reason
understand.
the only reason you'd use Russian is actually because funnily enough, you are required to know how to speak Russian if you're an astronaut. Mainly because a lot of Russian terms are used on the International Space Station.
Hmm.
But
But
that still doesn't explain why her native tongue is Russian.
but does that imply native tongue? Native tongue could be English.
She's from the Ukraine.
Well, it says no. She just says she's Ukrainian. It doesn't say that she was from Ukraine.
Doesn't say other. She doesn't say. It doesn't say that she's not from the
Yeah, that's right.
Ukraine either.
Yeah, but I do like that he brought her before the Avatar awakened. This could have just been massive paradox backlash.
Legitimately, he basically broke her mind and love bombed her into this.
There's also the fact that he doesn't care about any of this. He just wants his starship built.
Yeah, I mean that's fitting. Mages are sociopaths, so
Yeah.
let's move on. The fiber opticon, which is a talisman.
Yeah. Oh, it is a read device, but Von Neumann believes it could be made into a read-write device.
Also, fiber opticon, a take on the Necronomicon, I believe. Even though fiber optics.
No, it's a search engine as
Oh, it's a,
well.
it's a search engine.
It is a fucking search, and one that is not made specific will cause an avalanche of information to crash the user's mind. No, no, it is. It is a fucking search engine.
I mean, that is a rather. I mean,
It's
search
also
engines are rather rarish at this point, so
Yeah. It says it finds information no matter where it is stored on the web, and makes it accessible to the user.
pretty neat. A
I don't know
random,
what this.
a
I don't know what
random.
this image age because you clearly have a parody of some Reagan symbol: peace through strength, order through chaos, harmony through intimidation. Talons, the American liberators of nuclear supremacy. I don't get it.
I don't know what the point of this is.
Well, next up is Deus Ex Machina.
Begin transmission from Autochthony Essential Core to Construct 010. Iteration X computes the probability of successful virtual adept intervention in primary ascension program at 40.52%, growing exponentially. Iteration X computes virtual adept exponential growth derives from uncontrolled interface with the digital web. Iteration X computes unauthorized use of the digital web must not continue. Prepare for new programming directives. Error in processing new programming directives or in running application will be eliminated from system. It's a
And
mystery
transmission.
story. It creates an artificial intelligence to serve its goal of ordering and controlling the digital world by interlinking the avatars.
Oh, it stop an AI.
Eh,
I'm moving to the characters right away.
yeah, I'm not particularly interested in this one either.
Oh God, look at page 88. The Cyber Warrior.
Yeah, this is not very. Oh wow.
That's 80s.
Yeah. Again, very much I think inspired by, well, partially Cyberpunk, partially Tron, maybe a little bit of Shadowrun.
In another room, two cyborg combatants engage in mortal combat. The technomancer watching from a balcony will gesture to the characters to observe. Here's question him explains that they are two new apprentices of Iteration X. They were lovers before they were recruited by the convention.
Are
He
we
is
at the
quite pleased.
characters now, or
No, I'm reading on page 88.
okay?
He's quite pleased that their indoctrination has broken them of their human bonds. He explains that the virtual death duel will help them carry out even the most difficult orders without question. Furthermore, its memory will always remain as a barrier between them, helping to ensure their loyalty to the democracy instead of to each other. Even for an Xer, this man is sick. Calling this a
Okay,
Caligula-like display.
okay. Again, this one doesn't really appeal to me either, honestly.
But let's see. So,
Yeah, our tits are in a different time zone. It's not very good art.
Res. Has access to level 5 in all spheres.
Which yeah.
However, because of conflicting avatars within Res, it does not have the knowledge to use them efficiently.
This is the AI.
That actually is probably a good way to show a magical guy. Just 5 in all spheres. Ambrose Channing, Void Engineer. Always wears gray wherever he goes. But it does continually scan for surroundings for enemies. He's a gifted astrophysicist. He wants to quantify the very essence of the cosmos and find a set of understandable and predictable laws through which the entire space-time continuum can be mapped. Oh god. After joining the technocracy, the other conventions engineered the Challenger explosion.
Yeah. Attribute the horrific death of an
Damn it,
elementary
White
school
Wolf.
teacher. You fucking pieces
Damn it.
of filth. You
Wait, why would they
piles
want
of
to sabotage
shit.
the Challenger?
You fucking asshole.
Why would they want to... That doesn't make any sense. Why would they want to sabotage it?
That I'm actually angry. Not massively. It's kind of like a go fuck yourself.
Why would they want to do it?
Because we need the technocracy to be evil. Because they're the antagonist to the traditions.
It busted they
I don't know,
disrupted the
man. It's
space program.
fucking no. I think I figured it out because it's a change in paradigm. Because remember, the space shuttle originally was supposed to completely change how space travel was supposed to work. Because it was supposed
Oh,
to allow for much easier access to commercial funding and challenge, and it was also supposed to be the first citizen astronauts rather than military. You could argue
oh,
that might be why.
but it's still.
It still absolutely can go fuck itself. Whoever wrote that should feel fucking shamed.
Also, it's the other convention, so the Void Engineers were supporting it.
Be ashamed of yourself. Holy
Oh no,
shit.
they were supporting the Challenger. The other, I have no idea why any of the other ones would want to explode it.
Also, they destroyed the Mars observer, which actually, if you're wondering why, so Mars actually is very notorious in fucking up electronics that land on it. Not just the Viking, but the Soviets historically had horrendous luck in landing things on Mars. We only really kind of brushed it up with later landings, but at this point, we knew a lot about Mars, but it was mostly through satellite passbys rather than actually landing on the planet itself. It's a combination of dust and just like other factors.
Yeah, this is also kind of the reason why I probably would be on the side of the traditions, because all the improbabilities and difficulties of space, I just don't want that. I want to be flying in spaceships.
I mean, legitimately, you could do it either as a tradition or as a technocracy. It just depends on your view of the world and how you want to affect its reality.
So I guess this guy actually captured his compatriots, connected them to Rez. So he's trying to break Rez out. Yeah, I think as Jimmy says, first edition when the Technocracy was pure evil, even the progenitors.
Yeah, they were all evil. I mean, the whole thing about Mage is you're kind of going to be a piece of shit regardless.
Yeah.
That is the thing, though. You're going to kind of always be a complete and absolute pile of garbage.
So the permutations. This I like because it is also trying to explain how the internet was in this time. Because for
Yeah,
instance, they
this is good.
describe the three main types of personal computer: the IBM or MS-DOS compatible machines.
Yeah,
They are de facto standard, difficult to master. Uh,
essentially, yeah. Basically, they were business machines that became home machines.
the Apple Macintosh family is the second most popular and is the machine of choice for graphic designers. Um, then there appears to be afterwards an image of a woman relaxing in the virtual realm,
Also,
apparently
I
watching
will,
virtual TV.
yeah, I will also note that even at its peak, the Macs actually I think only made up 10% of the market. It's made its mark most upon the artist community, mainly just because it had better programs for that sort of stuff. Also, again, this is really highlighting the futility of the net, in my opinion. Technically, it would have benefits for mages because you're basically defying reality, but the examples they list are all shit.
And the third most popular is the Commodore Amiga,
Now that's a dated one.
favor of video producers and hackers. There are no portable models, though hackers have put together luggable systems that can fit in a big briefcase.
Also, the Amiga is one of the first to have a graphics user interface, GUI, which is why it was actually really popular. Commodore in general, because of how cheap they were, really made the computer accessible to people.
Also, Sword Killer, I will not agree that all technocracy evils were tradition psyops.
Oh no, mages in general
Yeah,
are all awful. Like they're all
because
trash.
mages are awful.
Like it doesn't matter what wizard hat or suit and tie, you're a piece of human garbage.
Remember, thou shalt not suffer a witch to live.
So what a computer can't do? Computers can't think. Mages can make them fucking think, dude.
Well, this is pretty much to explain. Okay, how does technology work?
Oh yeah, because you might be a bumbo that doesn't even have a computer other than like the school computer. Yeah, fair enough.
They can't do anything without software. They can't write letters without word processing, analyze data without database, or dial phone without a telecommunications program.
Technically, you can make your own codes, but yeah, you're gonna want to install stuff.
Uh, you need a computer 3 to write software.
Well, yeah, that makes sense because I mean, everyone kind of knows. Most of you would know this, but yeah, level 3 is where you're actually quite skilled at your field. 2, it means you're proficient. 1 means you have some familiarity. 3
These
is
are
you're
mental
proficient. 4, you're an
computers.
expert in the
Yeah,
field. 5 is you're one of the greats.
yeah.
And
Uh,
anything above that means you're preternaturally insanely good at it.
so, magical computers store rotes or spells for immediate access, size up the initiative difficulty of normal computer use. They can draw quintessence. Uh, the mage may then use it to give a given rote program to their database. So it's effectively
You
a
just shove
portable.
magic in it to make
Yeah.
programs.
You can't draw information without adequate data to which to
Oh
draw
god,
from.
I'm envisioning a mage tech support. Like you got like I don't know, the void engineer. It's like, wait, you did what? Well, you see, I tried to shove some of my quintessence and some of my sphere into this here darn computer, and it just grew legs and started running away. I had to strap it down. Did you put it in the A drive? What's an A drive? I saw another one. It's in the back. No.
Wait, hold on.
Mage tech
Wouldn't this,
support sounds hilarious.
was Terry Davis possibly then a mage?
Honestly, if you wanted to have Terry A. Davis be a mage and Temple OS was just what the sleepers could understand, and he's actually a voice of the choir, you could totally do it.
Where's the choir that goes to the realm's heaven?
No, like legitimately, if you wanted to, you could make Temple OS actually a lot more impressive in the back end if you're a mage. Like you could actually do some really neat shit with that.
Oh, Jimmy did say this book came out before Virtual Adepts. Before, I guess, the main Virtual Adepts
Yeah,
book.
this is the first time virtual adepts really got brought up.
Let's see. Most common way to input information is through a keyboard
Mhm.
and physically trading disks. And I love the disk. Floppy, removable hard drive, or optical, in order of increasing capacity, is convenient for purposes where face-to-face meeting or courier is appropriate. They bring up optical character reader tape drives. You also could use a daemon.
What about Laserdisc? Do they mention Laserdisc?
Was Laserdisc even out at this time?
Yes.
Well, wait, Laserdisc, isn't it an optical?
Yeah, it is. I'm just pointing out like that's one that people usually forget about.
Oh wow, it was continued to be produced until July of 2009.
Yeah, it never caught on, but it had some fans. It wasn't until DVDs really that it became completely obsolete.
Uh, a normal computer cannot exert control over any other device that it isn't directly connected to. On TV, hackers often use the computer to turn off the enemy's power or something similar.
Yeah,
Don't count on it.
unless you're a mage.
Yeah. So what a computer can do, so a computer can obviously organize data, send and receive information. Uh, with a modem, can make phone calls, but it's pretty much limited to what anyone else could do with a phone. It just is faster, more persistently,
Yes and no.
which ironically still holds somewhat true today.
Yeah.
Uh, let's see. Then you have with digitized image, proper software, and access to good output device, a $100,000 high-resolution 4-color press. A computer can make undetectable changes to photographs and possibly videos.
They're low-key hinting at what AI's future is. That's pretty neat.
Can also be used to dial up on a BBS network or a
Also
mainframe.
Photoshop, legitimately.
Yeah. Upgrades. Magic normal board takes a lot of time. Prime 2 Spirit 2 can fix a computer. Then rework the physical structure of the device to avoid overload by using Matter 2 in a role of Matter plus Computer. Difficulty 8. The virtual adepts do this to create trinary computers.
Which are pointless in terms of computer architecture.
Also, the ability to turn a computer into a fetish by binding a spirit to it.
Legitimately, I would probably not use trinary as the concept. I would probably use matter and some of the other stuff to essentially miniaturize and essentially make more of a chain relay.
Hmm. Oh, rotes for the digital web.
So here's some of them. There's hardware entry. This allows sensory and astral immersion into the digital web. There's wetware entry, which is where you're dumb enough to actually shove into your own brain and, hemorrhage. Diagnose with instant offline, aka diagnose dead.
And technovision allows you to see readouts and analyze everything in view,
Oh god, it's Google Glasses.
but online.
Oh, that. Do you know how many penises would be drawn in your eyesight? Do you know how many dicks would just be drawn and you just see a Malkavian fucking laughing at you?
Uh, the Gary's mod gun.
And
Forces. Create virtual object. Forces 3, Prime 2. Yeah, it It is creating any electronic object for use in the digital web. Oh, a life one.
Also, Joshua's goodbye is essentially a banhammer.
Dumping annoying cyber Nazi felt we're abusing cyberspace. Joshua's a
It's a
Janny.
literal. It's a banhammer. Rotes are just basically programs you can shove into the computer to do these things yourself.
The Stroll Killer says, I'm a mage player, I have to be a contrarian shithead.
I mean,
Not
that's
so bad
Mage in a nutshell.
yeah. To repair slides about the paradigm war and consensus.
You know, it also uses consensus. Cryptocurrency. You know, it also ate a lot of shit and failed. Cryptocurrency.
What would be a rote then for cryptocurrency?
Um. Oh God, I don't know. I don't remember all the spheres.
Well, it's money, so it's prime.
I'd say you need at least a rank of mind because you have to make people think it has value.
Yeah, I'd say mine and prime. Maybe entropy as well.
Well, yeah, you'd need entropy for the volatility of the currency.
Let's see. I'm trying to see some time routes. Information superhighway. Created by a cult of XT mage with the handle Epicurus. This route speeds the mage through conduits and sectors of the digital web. He knows by accelerating time around the mage. He gets him to surf the web at light speed.
Joke's on you. Fiber optic cables, man.
Oh, virtual lockpick.
Yeah, fair enough. Basically, it just allows you to brute force hack quicker.
Talismans.
These are just some other stuff you can do, other programs. I will say this. I will say this. I like this a lot. Actually, no, I'll get into it when we're finished on these.
Electro-ephemeral scanner. Scan a mage into the digital web. So it's a reverse 3D printer.
So, net denizens. Many strange entities dwell here. Computer viruses are one. They're parasites. They have mind for effect possession, which means they can possess you, as the icon.
Yeah, you can catch a virus.
hmm
You have web spiders, informational geomids, guardians.
Yep.
Get this weird guy on page 104 who's just a head who says the symbol omega.
I think that's supposed to be an AI.
Yeah. Some of the denizens of the web. Arn's Wrath. Anaphondas seeking virtual blood and digital souls for his otherworldly patrons.
Also, that's a terrible name. This is the type of person whose real name is something probably very embarrassing.
Captain Feedback. He is a sleeper who awakened online while hacking into NORAD. At the time, the Soviet Union and the United States were only a minute and a half from sending everything to nuclear Armageddon.
Oh, this is claiming that he saved the world from 1983, the Able Archer exercise, which had the Soviets misread the. Basically, the Soviets had a misreading that looked like missile launches because basically the U.S. was preparing for a series of exercises that looked very similar to like a staged invasion.
Kibo. He is a great mage. Something that he is an AI or a Turing machine. He has annoying habit of popping up whenever someone invokes his name. So he has to be a master mage in correspondence.
Oh yeah, he has 5 ranks at
Oh,
least,
there's a
maybe more.
religion for him. Kiboology is the #1 cause of confusion among tradition mages in the net today.
I think there's actually a new religious movement that's similar to this that was invented in
Yeah.
Sweden. Similar
Most
logic too.
most adepts have a tongue-in-cheek air of cockiness about them. They often vent their own tensions in the standoff in cyberspace through countless in-jokes and strange pranks. Nobody takes Kiboology seriously. Oh, so it is a troll.
It's basically like Church of the Subgenius, yeah.
Pen of Grain Carm, an oracle. It's an AI.
All right.
While almost 75% of the data it spits out is true, the other 25% is certainly and obviously false. News programmed hen resembles a giant chicken about 40 feet high, regularly sits on a throne made of wood. I like that there's just a giant chicken somewhere.
That makes up lies 1/4 of the time. Then there's some sample chantries, what they would look like on the net.
Oh, it's a of course, called Club Dionysus. It's
All
a
right.
cyber sex paradise.
Yeah.
Then
Neither
the
of them are that
yeah.
well designed, honestly.
Other uses of information, net slang. Bang, a common alternative for an exclamation mark. Crash, garbage collection demon. Flame on, to continue to flame. Fried, burned out power supply. Oh, flame, to speak incessantly or rapidly on some
Yeah, these
relatively
are real
understanding
terms
subject.
actually. These are real terms that used to be used a lot.
I don't feel like many people use flame though.
They used to be used a lot. Flames. Flames will not be tolerated. It used to be very common. A lot of this came out of parlance because it's not much of a point.
Gibson,
Now
that neck
some
run
of this
too.
is made shit. Like some of this is actually just invented made
Oh,
shit though.
I did not realize glitch came from Yiddish.
Yeah, glitch.
Glitchin,
Yep, glitch is a Yiddish word.
grok. This is from
To,
Heinlein.
yep, to understand intrinsically,
Ice,
which is which is another case of them stealing from another, yeah, from cyberpunk in general.
snarf. To grab a large file. Splat, name used in places for the ASCII asterisk.
Yeah, flame wars are the only remaining term, but a lot of these are real. Some of them are just mageisms.
Like pulling a Turing, slang for the act of masquerading as a mage from a different tradition.
And here's the appendices, which tells you the stuff that they were inspired by, which includes
Yeah.
Jurassic Park, Electronic Life, Neuromancer, obviously, Count Zero, Mona Lisa Overdrive, and Burning Chrome. Chaos, The
Snow.
Moon is a Harsh Mistress, and Time Enough for Love from Heinlein.
Oh.
Sterling has Island in the Net, Global Head, and the Hacker Crackdown. Snow Crash. That's the one I was thinking of. Snow Crash is the that's where the stupid Ready Player One bullshit comes from. You can thank Neil Stephenson for all of the terrible, terrible metaverse bullshits that have shat out in the last couple of years.
Nonfiction, of which I'm pretty sure all of this is outdated.
Oh God, yeah. It's all outdated.
The metaphysics of virtual reality.
So Michael Hyman and Howard Rheingold were basically Neil Stephenson came up with the concept. By the way, the actual plot, besides having a virtual world similar to Second Life, is there is a virus called the Snow Crash virus, and it is one of those. It can infect you in real life and kill you, man.
So finally, and this dates this completely. On the next page, magazines.
Wired.
Yes, we're talking about those dangerous underground magazines, those dedicated directly to technologies that affects the cultural climate of America. Take, for instance, these ultra-subversive techno-terror publications, Wired and Mondo 2000. I love that
They also give you subscriptions because this is a plug.
it's published quarterly. They give you the address or the email
Yeah,
on CompuServe.
yeah.
Frack. Actually, Frack. These are all still around, I believe.
They are, but nowhere near as relevant as they used to be.
Yeah. Frack, 2006 or 26,000, and
2600
Boing Boing.
named the name's based on the Atari 2600.
Boing Boing. One of the T-shirts advertised in the magazine bears the slogan "Ecstasy knows no bow rate." I will leave it at that. Nothing more needs to be said other than check it out.
Right, 4-issue subscription, $20.
And
and
that
here's the end.
that
That's it.
yeah. Uh, I consider this very funny.
But yeah,
Um, Obviously, a bit of an interesting take on the internet. I actually do really like the fact that um, a lot of the technology actually is commonplace. That even though it is for mages.
um, so here's my thoughts on this one. I've hinted at it repeatedly. I've even said it a couple of times. The biggest problem that this book has is the concepts it explains are interesting. The concept of actually playing around in cyberspace is interesting because mages do affect reality, and this is a way you can make Horizon Realms for on the cheap, essentially, since you're basically using the net to do that. The concept of the cobwebs actually being connected allows Valkavians to kind of just occasionally go on the net to troll people is pretty fun. That's a bit different than what I was expecting. I was expecting ShrekNet. I also like the usage of the Glasswalker werewolves. That's a good choice. Ultimately, the problem is, the tone's way too gonzo for my tastes. That's just a personal issue of mine. I would also say that this one suffers from a combination of obsolescence and the poisoning of the tree, so to speak. Because so many of these hopeful concepts were just straight up fucking ruined by grifters. And it kind of makes the concept less enjoyable for me. These are all basically mainstream at this point. I would overall probably rate this a very very low decent. Actually no, I can't rate it decent, and here's why. The adventure splats kind of suck, so yeah, I'm downgrading it to playable. Um,
Yeah,
Again, there's a lot of fun concepts. I do actually intrinsically think that you can have some really fun. I wouldn't necessarily have it take place solely in the net, but you could definitely do some cyberpunk style bullshit in there. Um, I actually will also rate this because I am going to have to compare it to what was out at the time. This is a hell of a lot better than what Cyberpunk 2020 and a hell of a lot better than what Shadowrun did. Shadowrun 4.0 is like the first time that a Shadowrun version actually allowed you to do hacking without absolutely completely frying the game. Because for some reason, whenever you played it in a cyberpunk setting, they made the hacker, decker, whatever you want to call it, legitimately have a completely different system that you used. And that ultimately would ruin the experience because it would either completely eat an entire session because it's its own sub-session, or it's just so mechanically clunky that there's no point. That's something that you have to give this book. It makes actually running a hacker a lot more plausible. Like it
mostly
gives you a
because
lot of
you're
tools to do a lot of computer hacking and playing around with that.
but mostly because they kind of just translate the hacking into what everyone else would be doing.
Yeah, I mean, like, yeah, you can use roach, but like, legitimately, you could just have that be something that certain werewolves and vampires can also use, or particularly skilled mortals. Basically, you just have internal programs that you just upload and use. Basically, you're
Honestly,
pulling a script, kid.
yeah, honestly, you probably like bypass a firewall, just punch it.
Like I said, the basic concept works. It's just the way they describe it is very much not to my taste.
Although Skull Killer did come up with an interesting idea of Onyx Pact making a period setting for this era of the internet. Like I could see this in a dark eras. Um,
Uh, yeah, this being a dark era setting, or if they just made a relatively short book, or if they for some reason decided to do this for 5th edition. I know 5th edition sucks ass, but I mean, the internet has changed notably. The problem is I know the
I,
writers would fuck it up.
I would really like to see this for modern, because I could see Spy's domain being. I mean, a few years ago, it would have just been a social media, but I could see this now being something like a Mastodon sort of thing, a private uh sort of server. And actually, I think that would be interesting thematically because the technocracy would have pretty much won on the internet.
Not the technocracy specifically, because they're still kind of arguing with each other a bit on this. Specifically, the syndicates fucking won.
Actually, no, the Syndicate won, New World Order, and technically Iteration X. People are now addicted to the internet.
Hmm.
Uh, the economy goes entirely through the internet, and governments now have access to
You,
pretty much all the internet.
you also forget that all of it's corporate. A lot of it is corporatized still. Like it is a big it's a big syndicate win.
So instead of being this sort of open area, it is defined, and it is now though walled off. If you're a mage, you are holding on to your area, making sure it is not scrubbed clean for,
Well, scrub clean
suitability.
from search indexes to maybe indoctrinate more people to your like basically. One of the things that, if you're going to do a more modern take on this, is you'd have to really show the evolution of computer engineering and particularly website design. Because originally, again, like I mentioned, websites could be done by, one guy or maybe a couple of guys that are just kind of working on the back end to make something. But what happened was more and more, in this case, sleepers wanted more and more access to it, more and more convenience, and more visual pleasure, and more functions. This makes it harder to maintain for one person. And
Yeah,
on top of that, that requires money, mainly because, it just requires that to do upkeep. And as a result, single man units are gone in favor of originally small businesses that would basically serve as middlemen, and now just giant tech conglomerates.
as they handle all the upkeep and all of the uh, design, you just post. But at the same time, that means that they have control over what can be said and
Hmm.
uh, what can be talked about, how it can be talked about, and they're going to push you into certain ways
Also,
to.
on top of that, in term provisions, ISP providers, legitimately, you can only go through a certain amount of them, which means that in this case, I believe the Void engineers have control over this. Yeah, they have a lock on what you can even access, hypothetically.
Oh, and then there'd be an interesting twist because you can ignore all this if you go through the dark web,
The dark web
but
is essentially a combination of just the old, yeah, it's basically completely unbound.
it's unbound, but it is like an ancient navigator going through an uncharted land.
Not just an uncharted land, a land that I would have infested with Nefandus, with marauders, just like generally the things you don't want to deal with.
Basically, it's either just to say fantasy terms. If you want to exist in the clear net, it is, you know, what would be the right game to represent? Paranoia, Dark Heresy, um, something that's pretty much if you step out of line, it's over. So maybe actually Rifts if you're not using mega damage armor,
Yeah, I'd say something like that.
and then the Darknet, Dark Sun,
Yeah,
or Twilight 2000, something where
or the Alien RPG because of the rapid spiraling and high death rate.
I guess something Cthulhu as well.
Call of Cthulhu would also work. Like I said, overall, uh, again, I was a little bit harsher on it because, like I mentioned, I did have a besides tech legitimately getting attacked by the traditions. I had a really rough afternoon, like I said, so I was a little bit more dour. But just legitimately, Gonzo doesn't usually appeal to me because it's a case of trying too hard. And what this book does is it tries a little too hard. The characters are hilarious because because they're the exact sort of people you would see online. They are the exact sort of people you would see online. But one of the biggest, and again, the other big problem is you're running into a scenario where all of this stuff that's described with like amazing terms, like you have virtual spaces that you can interact with directly, and I'm like, yeah, we saw that. It was Second Life. No one fucking touched it. No one wanted it. it's basically barely maintained now, more by the people who still use it, the very desperate people that still use it, and at any point it can just go under. It's like metaverse where no one uses it, and it actually can completely fry your computer despite you having a top of the line machine because it's just so poorly optimized. Like the dream manifested, but it's a nightmare. It is a pale. It is basically like what the sleepers probably would experience if you think about it. Like you know how they kept making fun of like, oh yeah, sleepers can't really. That's kind of what their dreams turned into. It turned into the sleeper version of what they tried to espouse. To be fair, VR chat and others exist. VR chat's kind of like it's kind of limited, and no one really uses that either, like that much either.
I mean, at the end of the day, it's a lot of this is just basically ways for people to connect with each other and share information, and
I
this can
would
be done
I would
in
say, like I said, this has enough to you could definitely use it. This did inspire me with ideas. It's just I don't like the ideas they came up with in this book. I'd completely rip it apart and dissect it and make it not my own because at the end of the day it's uncreativity.
but
Uh,
it is a fascinating look at because especially for me that got me was again their interpretation of how does the digital world look like, and you can clearly tell that this is inspired by Tron.
well, not just Tron. Like I said, if it wasn't for the fact that movie came out a year later, I would have just straight up said this is Johnny Mnemonic.
But we do have then later we have Johnny Mnemonic, we have Matrix.
Which again is based on Neuromancer. So essentially, yeah, it's strongly based on Neuromancer. And funnily enough, the 2.0 kind of is prescient. It actually copies the Matrix, despite the Matrix coming out a year afterwards.
But also the vibe of like what they imagined the avatars would look like, a lot more
The icons.
fantastical.
Well, no, the icons are actually on point. If you've ever been to like one of those early kind of almost MMO where you can design your own characters, like
Hmm.
you like it. I'm thinking like you can get some weird shit. What is it? Guy online. I think you can get some weird looking character tokens or whatever. Like whenever people have the chance to make their avatar, you will get weird stuff like Mr. Edgelord Nightwing or whatever. Or like a miniature werewolf. VR chat's actually a pretty good demonstration of what you'd actually see. It's really funny because despite the fact that it's very dated, it actually does nail the internet pretty accurately.
Although the lack of anime is pretty telling.
Well, I mean, you can't just rip off Mike Pondsmith. He might actually sue you. He might actually sue you. Um, Yeah, like I said, overall, I'd rate this as a kind of a playable. It suffers pretty badly from kind of the style. In my case, I don't like the style, and honestly, the adventures they designed are not very good. They're
And
not
that,
very good at playing with the net.
and I'd say one thing, really the focus is on Iteration X, Virtual Adepts, and Sons of the Ether.
Yeah, if you like Technocracy, or if you like Sons of the Ether, or the Virtual Adepts, this is your kind of book. Also, Malkavians. Like I said, I'm actually surprised that they played around with the cobwebs. Unfortunately, they are fish milks, which is a bit of a knock to it. But still, at the end of the day, if I was a vampire that had a mental disorder, honestly, I would totally fuck around with wizards myself. Like, you're in your coffin, right? You're in your coffin. You're asleep. You're asleep during the day, and you use the cobwebs to just fucking grief these nerds.
But yeah, because if you met the mage in real life, the mage would just curb stomp you and turn you into a chair.
So you grief them online.
What are they gonna do? Just blow up your computer? Fine, I can buy another one.
No, no, you don't even have a computer. You're using your brain. Oh no, my brain broke. Don't worry, it's already broken, and I'll come back up from in the middle of the night healed perfectly. Because remember, vampires recover damage essentially. They come back exactly as they do as long as they have some blood points left.
Got so Malkavians can be the ultimate A-log.
Malkavians could be really great trolls if you want. Actually, that's your chronicle right there. You are a bunch of young arrogant mages of either traditions or technocracy, and you're getting griefed to shit and back by a group of basically vampires who have a proto 4chan, and it's through their psychosis that they're able to operate this board. I kind of
Well,
like that. I kind of really like that idea. Holy
well, on
shit.
that hilarious note, we will leave you all till next time.
Till next time, I'm very much inclined to do another World of Darkness book because, again, we haven't done it in a while. Uh,
I think probably Chronicles would be best.
we could definitely do one of the Dark Eras. I very much liked the last one. And while we could cover Reconstruction Era of Beast, there are other ones besides that. Let's be fair, there are good ones besides besides Mutapa.
Soviet Union.
The Soviet Union one, actually, yeah. Next week we're gonna do the Soviet Union one. That one slaps. That one's really
Actually,
good.
actually, wait, that would make sense. Isn't May Day coming up?
Yes, May Day is coming up.
I guess in honor of the workers of the world.
Yeah, in honor of of the proletariat, and in honor of the workers of the world, we will cover Demon in the Soviet Union, where the great hero is Yosef Yugveli, which, by the way, in Georgian does mean son of steel. So Stalin is actually a fairly accurate translation of his Georgian name.
Hmm.
He picked the name Joe Steele, but technically that's about right for him in Georgian.
And
So
so good night, and remember everyone, hack the planet.
I knew you were going to do that. I predicted it. The cobwebs told me you would say that. Now I'm going to have to grief you online by making fun of Star Wars.
Oh no!